join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is approve the minutes of February 6th.
Also moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Don's moved, Tom second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I was absent.
Absent.
Motion passes.
3 yes,
3.
2 abstentions.
Yep.
Correct.
Miscellaneous motions. Move to authorize director chairman to sign one tax abatement in the amount of $93.88 to a 9 Potomac, Burlington, Kansas. Let's see what the reason was.
I'm sorry, I didn't look either. Oh, they lowered their penalty. Signed this year.
Yep.
I'm not, this is about the first one of these I've seen, and if I remember right. Wonder how they, because it was done by a certain date, they lower the penalty from 50 to 25, or?
I would assume. Also move.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, moved by Colin, seconded by Dawn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Based upon the recommendation of Emergency Management Director, move to authorize Director Chairman to sign one Coffee County payroll notice for Martin Ernst, Communication Technician, new hire, full-time, classification, 55-4, wage of $26.93, effective 2/8/23.
I'll move that.
Steve moved,
I'll second it.
Wade seconded. Any discussion?
Not to take anything away. I don't know, that's the first I'd heard of it, I guess. Right. Not that I'm gonna say no to it, I don't know, a little more communication, I don't know, I'll go down and talk to her when I get done. I don't know this gentleman, not that I need to, just.
He was the one that she talked to you guys about to do the radio communication.
Correct,
Yeah, okay.
but I didn't know if she'd found one, I guess, is where I was going with it, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no recollection that somebody had been.
Sounds like he evidently comes with pretty good qualifications.
Yeah, Dan, they're bringing him in at the.
And that'd be good if he could find people with that type of qualification, would eliminate most of the training out of
I
it.
think she had several applications come in,
Yes,
and she narrowed it down to
Okay, I mean,
I think she said she interviewed
4.
That's
four
right, we
or
did
five.
have that.
Yeah, something like that.
We did have that conversation, okay, no. That's why I wanted to talk, jog my memory. So
Moved and
that's
seconded.
What we need to do, yeah.
Discussion was over. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Move to approve the contributions to the Waverly After Prom Committee with funds coming from $333.34 from the diversion fund, $333.33 from the law enforcement fund, trust fund, and $333.33 from special rec, parks and rec.
So move.
All in favor?
Second.
Steve second, any discussion? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Call on 905. Heidi,
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
we don't see you for a while, and then you bombard us with a big morning.
Drop the bomb,
Drop the bomb.
Well, they've been working on this a couple of months, so, let me hand some stuff out real quick, and then, we can go through the checklist and get started. These are just for your approval.
Okay, thanks.
Right. I'm all ready, Mr. Chairman, whenever you are.
Ready when you are.
Okay, if you'll, yeah.
Board of County Commission of Coffee County. Call agenda item number 1 on February 13th, 2023. Do I need to read the outline procedures to readopt revised zoning regulations as a model code for Coffee County, Kansas? Okay.
So Heidi, is it correct that the changes are the things that were highlighted or in a different coloring now?
Blue is what it's gonna go to, red is what it was.
Okay, yes, and
And
that was the way
on most pages.
because I read the email, looked through that stuff.
Yes, please.
I ask the governing body members if they have received copies of the unapproved minutes of the planning board meeting for January 25th, 2023, with summaries of the public hearing on the revised changes to the zoning regulation.
Yes.
Yes.
Answer is yes. Having determined that the members have received the minutes of the planning board hearing, we will proceed with the meeting, the governing body will first hear from zoning administrator, then members of the public will be asked if there are any new information on this matter. Commission members may choose to ask questions of the zoning administrator, county staff, and the public. I call on our zoning administrator, Heidi Harris, for presentation as may be necessary for the proposed revised zoning regulations as a model code, and any questions for the commissioners,
Okay, so how do you wanna do this? You wanna go page by page? Okay, yes. Okay, so first page, the resolution letter will change. E is the next one that's on there. And then, these would be the people that helped prepare the document on behalf of the planning board, so those are gonna be all added. January 25th was the date of that public hearing, so that's the addition of. And then if you guys did do adoption, today would be the effective date. Thursday would be the effective date, because that's when it would be published. The next page is table of contents. In the table of contents, there's gonna be a new SHDD Special Housing Development District that was put into the revisions, that'll be discussed later on. So I gotta put it into the table of contents. And then that changes the other districts behind it, the numbering. Okay, if you head to the next page, what should be highlighted, oh, do you not have the next, table of contents,
I
next
do.
page? Okay, that's, I'm on that one.
None of mine's marked, though.
It didn't save the changes on my Word.
Okay.
My Word had a glitch, but the changes that would be, added to this page is adding the policy statement on the special use requirements for the commercial development of natural resources, and the special use statement on, and zoning permit application requirements for wireless communication facilities. So those two policies were not in our book originally, and now they're gonna be at the back in our index.
Okay.
So. Then page 1-2, changing there is the city of Burlington's extraterritorial jurisdiction. It was not correct in our book. Our subdivision regulations got updated a couple of years ago, and so now we're updating it with the following here. And that's what shows on our map as well. Okay. Page 2-2, the word principal, it's the wrong principal. Okay. Page 2-3, verb tenses on number 7 and number 8. We're just going to add S's. Okay. Page 2-6. Now we're into the definitions part of our book. When the planning board was reviewing it, they decided that this should be camping cabin, and take out the 1-story. So that's how they wanted to define camping cabin. So they got rid of cabin completely. Okay, page 27, they're adding the definition of camping equipment and then updating the definition of campgrounds in there, that verbiage.
Okay.
Okay. 2-8, in the cell tower definition, it's the wrong verb tense, so from which to with on that page. Page 212, adding the definition for a geographic designation. That one is in the SHDD district that's going to be proposed to be added, so we need to add the definition of it so you know what it is defining in that section. Page 2-13 is the same thing, except we're adding incorporated area. It'll be later discussed in the SHDD district as well. Okay, page 218, the word recycling was spelled wrong, so we're going to take the Y out. Page 222, we're still in definitions. We're adding unincorporated area, because that's also found in the SHDD district. Regulation is being proposed.
Unincorporated area, that would be like Jacobs Creek and Humboldt,
Yes, and Atumwa.
Ottumwa, yeah, sorry, Ottumwa.
And anywhere that's
What you think?
outside of the city limits of any other cities as well, yeah. So on page 39, at the, let's see, about the third from the, on K, the third sentence from the bottom, the D was missing from stated, under K, okay. Now, on the bottom of that page 2, the word did not take it, but the C was lowercase on camper, so we're gonna make that a capital like it shows there now. And then 310 just continues on with that location section, and it should be whenever instead of wherever. So, then on E, on that page 2, it's hard to see, but the word A in agriculture was lined out, so we're gonna take that line out there. And then disasters S on F was lined out too. Okay, on 311, our conditional uses are supposed to be as exemptions, so that's why we're putting as exemption there on 105. Now we're going to jump to our district regulations on 4.1. And on 4.1, special uses 1, that's the wrong ultralight. When you look it up, it's that's the company, and this is the actual light itself. So, and then on B, we're adding cabins in there to the what can be in campgrounds plus camping equipment, because vehicles doesn't encompass everything that could be part of a campground. We felt they felt equipment would better define that. Page 4.3, it continues on in our agriculture A1 district, and we're adding that policy statement on special use application requirements for wireless communication facilities, because that outlines everything that's required on behalf to be able to apply for the special use for a communication tower. Okay. All right, so 410 and 411, that is the new district. It's the SHDD Special Housing Development District. So, are you wanting me to read it all, or do you guys want to read it on your own?
I don't know how
Just
to
give us
speak.
the rundown of, I apologize that I didn't take time over the weekend to read this, but,
I can give synopsis in each paragraph if that'll
well,
work,
yeah, just give us
without
a
making it
breakdown
too.
of
Okay.
what it entails and where it's headed, so.
Okay, so the purpose of it is to allow not just for single family, but also multiple family, so it's a multifamily district. So, in appropriate areas in the county, so they may not be found everywhere. They're also gotta have central water and, sewer systems available and along roads that'll be allowed to anticipate the extra traffic that's gonna be on there. That was the first part. The second part dives into how you can apply for it. So it has to go through the planning board of Coffee County. It's made application like usual to the zoning administrator with a geographic designation, the definition we had earlier. which tells exactly where it's at, if it's in the incorporated area or non-incorporated area of the county. And they also have to have a sketch or an engineer drawing showing exactly what they're wanting to do, to build. Then after that, it goes up, it'll go to the planning board to look at for doing a rezoning on it. And then it would come up to you guys after that if they chose for approval to be able to have a final designation on it. Then in here it says that the uses of this are gonna supersede all the other regulations in the book. So this is a special district that the other regulations won't apply to, this part. Then the third paragraph, when establishing it, they have to provide an economic construction of multiple housing units, which meet certain criterias on the property within the county or the city, which are not classified as the district that allows for this type of housing. And then other restrictions and limitations can be found. It has to be, then another in this paragraph, if the planning board and you guys were to approve it as this district, it cannot conflict other zoning jurisdictions. So like if the city had jurisdiction, then they would have to get final approval first before that it could become a special housing development district. So you guys could say you're recommending this to one of the cities, and then the cities has to say we agree or not.
They're gonna
If
have the
it's-
final say if they
yes.
have previous.
If it's in that area of their jurisdiction, because this is allowing for this to also help the cities as well, if they so desire to use.
So is that the city councils themselves or their zoning board?
The city councils themselves
Okay,
would make the
fine.
final
Fine.
decision on it. Then in the last paragraph there, the application will be scrutinized very heavily by the economic development director and then the sanitarian or health director of the county. And they're going to look for accommodations to market demand for housing construction and also determine if there's adequate public water and sewage available for it too. Special uses, the first one, so based on our other ones, really the only things that are added to a special use permitted uses, I apologize, for this is going to be adding the multifamily dwellings, the apartments, the townhomes, the triplexes, duplexes, and dormitories. Those are the terms that are going to be different than your other ones that allow for housing. Two, that's similar to our other ones, except for they have to be in the initial plan or sketch for the project in that area, if it's going to be allowed. And then three, that's what we have in the other ones, golf courses. But that would also have to be in the initial part too as well. And then number four, that's one that's being added to this district just for this one alone, to allow for playgrounds, water features, green space, for community stuff like gazebos, for example. Now, special uses, these would be the uses that would be what the planning board would review and you guys would have to approve on. They're only going to be allowed to have, for special uses, a public building for cities, townships, government, or states, and then the utility substations, pumping stations, water towers, publicly and privately owned. So those are the only special uses they can apply for in this district. Conditional uses, the only ones are the bed and breakfast homes, child care centers, and preschools. Then we get to the lot size requirements. So this lot size requirement is quite a bit less than our other ones. This one would allow for the individual tracts to go down to 0.4 acres, or 17,234 square feet. Then other uses would be 40,000. The lot width has come down considerably because it'll be a smaller tract, so 60 feet minimum is what they were looking at for width, and 100 feet for depth minimum for that. The height size, we went up to 40 feet on it. In our A1, it's a little bit less than our yard requirements. So the yard requirements, how far they have to be off the front yard, to be off the road, 30 feet now, and 15 from the side and the rear. Then F has our use limitations, like in all our districts. This one's talking about outdoor storage on that one, that it shall be permitted only if it's defined in our definition sections. 2, that's what we normally have in our other districts, so it's just allowing them to have those kind of animals. 3 is another watchman or custodian residing on the property. And then 4 is different from any of the other districts. It allows for covenants and restrictions that would be part at the planning board level if they so desire to put them on there. So is there any other questions on that? I go through it a little fast.
Not for me.
Okay. All right, so the next couple of pages goes from 104 to 105 for the manufactured or mobile home subdivision district. C1 service commercial will go to 106. C2 interchange commercial district will go to 107. The I1 industrial district will go to 108. The FRD floodwater retarding dam impact overlay district will go to 109. And then the last district we have in that section is 110, the PO projective overlay district now.
So that's just changing the numbers.
Just changing the numbers because we added the SHDD in the middle of the district regulations.
Okay.
So now we're jumping to 422. And in that section, it's not an ordinance. You guys adopt them by resolution. So that verbiage needs changed there. 6.2. We're moving principal again, the word. 6.6. The or had a dash there, so we're gonna take out the dash on 6.6. 6.8. The board felt that on number 5, that dancing, we have dance schools, we felt that was better verbiage for that type of home occupation prohibited. 7.11, that's our sign regs. In it says boarding of zoning appeals, when it's supposed to be board, so we're gonna change it back to board. 8.4, on E, the second line, it was a little, hard to read, so they changed it from to to or, so now it makes it a better grammatical sentence. 9.4, okay, on 9.4, they felt that it should be more defined on business days. We've had lots of questions on, well, you said 10 days, so we need to define that it's 10 business days, because obviously we're not here on the weekends, so those days can't count.
Heidi,
Yes.
on number 7 there, I don't know if it matters, but it would appear there's a typo there. It says null and void. Should that be null and void, or is avoid the correct word there?
No, it'd be null and void. So
Okay, I didn't know if that was something that you wanted to
you
correct
guys
or-
have the ability to correct it here at this level, so if you guys would like to make that correction, I can make that correction.
Well, I'm not nitpicking, I just happened to
No,
see it when I was
no.
reading through it.
Makes sense to me.
We don't catch everything, unfortunately, so I'll be
Yeah.
happy to take that back and, it's,
Okay.
yeah, it's supposed to be null and void, yes.
Okay.
So I will take off the A. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so under B, for the 5th line down, same, it's making the sentence more grammatical with an of in the word. Okay. 10.7, we're changing it from, let's see, B, on E, 7th line down, changing it from are to as provided instead of are provided. Okay. 10.7 gets into our administrative portion of the regs, talking about our conditional uses and our variances. So on that page, it's talking about conditional uses as exemptions to our regs. 10.10, on this one, it's changing the case actual name. Apparently it had variance before, and in the section this is all conditional uses. So that's why it's being changed to conditional use as exception in those following places. Okay, so 11.3, this gets into our special use portion of the regulations, discussing it a little further. So on E, line 2, we're going to take out the or and say the general revisions. And then on number 2 down there, it was missing a word, so we want to add in person to there to make it sound like it should. Now, number 17. Your board loved number 17 before. No, I'm being sarcastic. They did not like 17 at all. They found it very hard to get through, so they decided to change it. So before it said, by comparison, does a relative gain to public health, safety, and general welfare outweigh the loss in property value? Or B, hardship imposed upon the applicant by not approving the request. It was very hard to get through special use cases by trying to figure out what 17 was going to be before, so now they'd like to have this verbiage. So A, if to be denied by the board, is the potential for loss in value or hardship to the applicant outweighed by the relative gain to public health, safety, and welfare? Or B, if to be approved by the board, is the potential for loss in value or hardship to the applicant outweighed by the relative gain to public health, safety, and welfare? They felt that was easier to understand, to be able to put their hands up and weigh the case.
Pretty much says the same.
It's the same except for, in special uses, you have to say yes or no. On a yes one, it means you're denying the special use. On a no one, it means you're approving it. That's how those work.
Easier.
It sounds weird, but that makes it easier for them to understand which one they're wanting to do. So now we're going to dive into the special use on 11.7. So want to change it to deciding on, and it's for a recommendation, because the planning board doesn't grant them, you guys do. So the way this was reading wasn't look like they did it, so that's why we're changing it to have you guys as the final approval. Okay. 12.1. So on 101, we're going to re-adopt it as a model code, and then the January 25th date, that's the current chairman and secretary of your board. Then today's date would be when you approved and adopted, and then of course all the commissioners changed, so, and I hope I spelled everybody's names right. And then at the bottom, it shows the resolution that'll be approved by today's date again. It'll be published on Thursday, and then also be effective as of Thursday. Okay. Any questions so far? And names are spelled right for the new gentleman?
It is now.
Okay, good. Okay, so I make sure. Okay, so A2 and A3 are going to be the resolution that you guys would be signing to make it effective. And so the date of Thursday, we're adopting it again in several places. One of the statutes changed on line 2 of that. We're adding not exceeding the 3 miles.
On the back of this sheet's the one where my name is not spelled correctly.
Okay, I will get that changed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And then, so that's it for that, unless you guys have questions on that resolution. Okay, A13, we did have the actual signatures for these individuals. It's for the resolution incorporating and adopting the quarry regulations. That's the signature page, so they felt like that should be in it, since we were able to copy and scan it over. Okay, so A22 through A26 is the policy statement on special use application requirements for commercial development of natural resources under the Coffee County zoning regulations. They did not change the verbiage of their policy statements in these last two, so this is the exact verbiage that applicants will have to go through if they want to apply for a rock quarry in our county for these pages. And then after that, the remainder of it, 33, to the end, there's a policy statement for the wireless communication facilities. And there again, they didn't change anything in that policy statement that was adopted either. I have reached the end of the regulations.
Thank you.
That's a lot of stuff to go through, for everybody to go through and work, trying to find the mistakes and what needs to be changed and what needs to be reworded.
Definitely a working document.
You know, all the updates in there, do you have documents from the state to kind of give you a lead on what needs to be in this policy?
So we research and look at the statutes too, and then we usually get with Wade to make sure that everything's legal in what we do. So that's how we determine our information, and we usually work with a consultant as well. So that's how we prepare the document.
Communications, are there any communications to consider, County Clerk?
We've not received any.
No communications. Does the public wish to speak to this matter? If so, please come forward and provide your name and address for the record.
I don't know.
There's nobody back there. Board of County Commissioners deliberation, assuming the governing body has received all the information they need on this matter, I will outline the choices provided below, and we can discuss any comments that the board members may have.
Yes, hang on, I've just got one question.
Yes.
And it's back on 411. On the, and I'm probably missing, on the lot size requirements, it's 17,000 square feet per lot, is that correct?
Yes.
But the minimum lot width and the minimum lot depth is, I mean, that's 6,000 square.
So that's just the minimum. So,
Okay. Okay,
So it could be, if it's that narrow, then it would have to be a lot longer.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, to meet
Sure.
that requirement? Am
Well-
I thinking right?
yeah, I was just looking at the 17,000 square feet, so that's a minimum size.
mhm.
The minimum lot width and the minimum lot depth, that's only 6,000 square feet.
So you have to have a minimum width and depth, because,
Oh, okay,
like, so the width would be like when they come into the property,
yeah,
so,
I understand now.
Because like it'd be a lot, if it was just that minimum width, then it would have to be a lot longer
Has to be
than.
300 feet long.
right,
Yeah,
Okay,
right,
am I thinking right?
yes.
I'm sorry.
No,
It's
Oh,
a
it's a good
minimum
question.
dimension each way, not in the, even though those two, like
Right.
you're
And then you don't want a
pertaining to,
flag lot.
doesn't meet that, yeah.
The concern with having minimum widths and depths is having a flag lot where you have just a really skinny entrance to the property,
Okay.
and then having a bigger track out here where it could be owned by someone else up here. That could cause.
I'm sorry I didn't say something back then, but I just, okay.
So that would be the minimum width for the whole
Track,
tract, right? It couldn't be narrower than that at any point, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Option one, approve, a majority vote, move to accept the recommendation of the planning board and to approve resolution number 386-E, sign zoning regulation, page 12 through 12.1, Article 12.
Severability.
Severability, thank you for the big word.
Yep, county.
And direct the county clerk to publish a resolution. 2, override and disapprove. 3,
Yeah, I'm not gonna cut you short, but I can cut to the chase and
I'm good with that.
I'd move to approve.
We have a motion.
Does that include the corrections that we talked about then?
Yes, it'll include the questions you guys brought up today, yes.
Okay, okay.
We got a motion by Tom, I will approve. I'll second. I'll approve, whatever. Any discussion?
The only reason I say that, I mean, because there's several other options here, but I can't see us
Right.
doing any one of those. I mean,
Right.
I don't want to table it, I don't want it revised. I think our planning and zoning board does a good job, and they've evidently, and Wade's kind of gave it a blessing, it sounds like, so I say we just go with it.
Just so you're aware, there's a published case that came out on Friday that specifically deals with zoning. I don't believe that the county, it's American Warrior, the Board of County Commissioners of Benton County, and Huber Sands deals with following governing bodies must follow procedures laid out in KSA 12757 when issuing conditional use permits. In essence, that's the long and the short of it. At least from my review of what happened, the summary is in Finney County for those type of special use permits or conditional use permits, Finney County allowed their Board of Zoning Appeals to be the final authority. It didn't come to the governing body. I believe the statute requires it to come to the governing body, which Coffee County follows, so I don't think anything that, at least what I can tell from my initial review, would create a problem here. But I at least wanted it to be brought up because this case is hot off the press. It was just released on Friday, and if you want to read it, it's 28 pages long.
I was gonna read it, I hadn't had a chance to yet.
The meat and potatoes of the opinion is 13 pages long, and then from that point on, there's a dissenting opinion from one of the panel members. So does that mean that it may be a petition for review filed to go to the Kansas Supreme Court potentially, because you have a three panel Court of Appeals, 3 judges on that panel, and one of them issued a dissenting opinion, so that means 2 of them agreed. So ultimately their conclusion was Finney County did not follow the procedures required under the statute I mentioned, and instead allowed its Board of Zoning Appeals to independently review and issue the conditional use permit. To Huber Sand, the permit is void and unenforceable. District Court was reversed, and then the case was remanded with instructions to go back to the Finney County District Court. So if you're interested in taking a look at that.
That wouldn't appear to be an exemption from our regulations, and if we had it in ours, that would be a special use, so it would come to you guys. Because conditional uses do not go back to the governing body. The BZA does make the final decision on those, but.
They do?
On conditional uses and variances in our book, the BZA makes them. But, in that condition, it was a sand operation that was being sued, it sounds like. I haven't read it all yet, and I apologize, I haven't had a chance to read
It would be more of a quarry.
It'd be more of a quarry situation in our county, which would be a special use
Special
listing in
use.
our book. It wouldn't be saying we're going to have an exemption from our regs allowing that.
Mhm.
It would have to come for final approval, because that's how we set up the book, our book.
So do you think you need to?
I'm gonna read it further and verify that's correct, but just based on the little bit I got to skim, that's what it looked like. So,
Sounds like to me the zoning and planning board approved of the sand plant, and it shouldn't have been. It should have
That's
went
what
to
it
the
sounds.
governing bodies, which is the commissioners, to approve it.
that's what it sounds like, but like I said, I haven't had a chance to dive into it all the way to see exactly.
But I mean, I do see an issue. I mean, not that there's probably gonna be a sand plant in Coffee County, and I guess maybe there could be. But it does state quarry. It doesn't state sand plants in our regs.
We could look at an update to that if we'd like to. We could put in for sand plants as well under, let's see, that would
That'd be a special use, wouldn't it?
under the agricole A1 district, yeah, it would be a special, the recommendation would have special use, yes.
Was it east of Burlington along the river?
Well, out here, east of Matthias Lake.
Oh, okay.
There's a sand right there.
Was there?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be the only thing that, I mean, if you're changing stuff, you might as well, it's not gonna hurt to add.
If
Add
there's still
that.
product there to be had,
I mean,
or not, I
because-
would assume there is.
Is it, so
Still quarry.
it's quarrying, it's not really quarrying, it's more pumping than anything.
Yeah,
So you see there was one out there where,
there was, yeah.
so
It's
is that?
years and years and years ago.
Right, but
Decades.
That area, by Matthias Lake, that would have to go back and get researched, because that might be in the city of Burlington's area.
within the 3 miles?
Yeah, within their jurisdiction near the southern part of their city, because that's over in that part of it. So I'd have to look and see on that.
Quarter, half a mile east of there.
Just something to think of, I mean.
I forgot all about that.
Talking about Sandbar, he and Boys Hill.
Yes, yes, they pump sand out of there.
Was that, is
It
that
hadn't been
within the
used for 20
Burlington, is that within the Burlington jurisdiction, 3 mile radius?
Is it in 3 mile radius?
Yeah, that's what I was asking. That's your district, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be within 3 mile radius to the east edge of Burlington.
So that wouldn't, that
As
wouldn't
the crow
affect-
flies, it's
That
not.
wouldn't apply to the county's regs, no.
That was probably 30 years ago, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So that's in,
Yeah,
that's
it's
in
probably been
mid-20.
20 years.
But it might be
It's
something.
been 30 since it pumped
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe
you
not.
say-
if you guys are wanting me to, I mean, I could go back and do some more research with Wade on that, or it's up to you guys.
Would that be something that would have to go through these steps all over again?
If we're not adding anything into the regulations, then, well,
You'd be
it wouldn't go
adding
through
the-
the whole steps. It would just go back, so if you take it back to the planning board, you're saying you want them to research this specific topic. It's, all they're gonna do is take it to another public hearing again, back at the planning board level, for them to look at that specific topic you wanted to look at, or the other, if there's any other things too. They would look at it, make their decision, and then forward it back on to you guys. So if you guys did that, it would be, I don't know if we'd be able to research it by next Wednesday or not, would be the thing. It'd be, March would be the earliest that could be back to the board if you wanted to do that.
I mean, I wouldn't think it's anything to research. I think it's just that we're adding the sand in with your query. Query or,
That's the right word.
sand, query or sand operation, dredging,
Yeah.
pumping, sand pumping.
Well, you don't have
Dredging, yeah.
your policy statements specifically just for, rock quarries though. So there'd have to be.
But,
I don't think we're in a hurry to do that. I mean,
No, I think it's just something that maybe, I mean, that just thought
might look at it.
because it does talk about blasting and everything in the special use for the quarry. So that wouldn't be anything you would think would be in the sand, on the
Right.
sand side. So-
Well, and who knows, it might not be EPA approved or something. I imagine if they had to get a license to probably start.
Sure, sure.
You know, 'cause there might be a cricket or something in there that
Right.
we've gotta look out for.
Wouldn't the word quarry, with whatever you're going after, you know,
I don't know.
whether it's rock or
Some
a
things-
special gem or sand?
Some things are called mining too.
Obstructing,
So there's different
To me,
types
quarry
of-
would almost
I don't
bring
know.
everything under the umbrella.
It's the same
Sounds
type of extraction or not.
extraction of minerals.
Sounds like there's enough questions that some investigation might need to be before you go throwing any word in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's probably good, yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it holds this up.
No, yeah.
It doesn't hold
It
this.
sounds like it could be something that could be, brought before the board, your board anyhow, if someone had interest in that, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
'Cause, you know, if they were gonna do that, having a public hearing for that probably wouldn't be that big a deal.
Well, you'd have to put it into your regs to say that you're gonna be requiring them to have special permitting for it first. So we could look into that to update the regulations if you guys would like it then too.
And I don't know that, I mean, you know, blasting's a little different than, you know, I can understand where you have to have license to query if you've got someone living across the road or whatever, and that
Right.
needs to be regulated, whereas
You feel
Sand
like
pumping.
digging a hole and putting water in it and
yeah,
sucking
that's
sand.
not really gonna affect your neighbors much, I wouldn't think, but just my thought.
Probably never, I'm gonna say probably never would have a request for a sand plant in Coffee County, but I guess there's been stranger things have asked, so.
Right.
Might be something that would,
There was a pile of sand pulled out of there 25 years ago.
Yeah,
I don't know how many yards or tons, but there's a pile of
a
sand.
whole bunch of.
it's 50 years ago.
Pardon?
50
50
years ago.
years, I was gonna say.
Oh, just 50 acres?
50 years.
50 years ago.
50 years.
I was gonna say, I thought it was longer than 20, because Ian Boyce has been,
Really? Probably not.
It's probably been 35 or 40 at least.
yeah.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor, moved and seconded for this change. A lot of discussion. I guess all's left to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. No, we lost Andy.
Let me get you that back.
Who
made the motion?
Hold on a second.
I made the motion, Jesse
Tom,
seconded.
Tom,
Jesse.
closing remarks. Persons aggravated by this final decision by the governing body on this matter have 30 days after the resolution is published within which to appeal to district court. For disapproval, persons aggravated, okay, so approved, okay, we
Yep.
approved it. I call on an agenda item number 2.
Thanks, Commissioners. I'll bring that resolution, the C and the Y got mixed up on your name, so I'll bring it back.
I just had a Y missing, was all.
Well, on this one, it's the C and the Y.
D
were-
and a Y, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
were mixed
okay.
up, so I will bring it back
One
to a
has a
little
Y
while.
missing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Are you sending the resolution to the paper?
Yes. I'll CC her on the email.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Take a break.
It's on your agenda.
Come back in. We'll take a break till 10 o'clock, how's that? And then we'll have road and bridge supervisor. This one? Oh, yeah. That's what I was looking up. And I forgot where I was at. Alright, Joe, we're on break till 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is. Calling on our 10 o'clock, Assistant Road and Bridge Supervisor, Right-of-Way Coordinator Ryan Dirks, Personnel Matters and Weekly Update.
How you doing, Ron?
Good, guys, how are you?
Morning.
Everybody enjoyed the game last night, I know I did.
Yes, sir.
Quite exciting.
Good game.
Yeah, very good, that's what we like to see. So I've got a handful of motions to go through today, and I think we'll just start. The first ones are striping contracts, which I think Jeff brought in the striping bid stuff last week. This is just the contracts that go along with that for straight line striping.
Where are they out of?
I think they are out of, I'm not for sure, I want to say Nebraska,
Nebraska.
or Northern County, I think they're up Nebraska, up in there, but I know they do a lot of Kansas, I mean.
A lot of miles of.
Yeah,
striping.
yeah, for counties, I mean, they're kind of, most counties I know, that's who they go with,
Who they
who they
use.
get, yeah. So that's just something we don't get a lot of bids in for some reason, so,
I'm sure it's like anything else, people are going out of business.
right.
Motion 2023-03, based upon the recommendation of the interim road and bridge superintendent and approval as informed by the county attorney to authorize, direct the chairman to sign contract documents for straight line striping for pavement striping at several locations throughout the county. Project number S2301-C.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Tom moved, Don seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next, I would like, to request executive session for the board, myself and Wade. This is, dealing with personnel matters of non-elected personnel, dealing with kind of truck foreman's position and opening we have there. Probably 15 minutes.
That's what I got my timer set to.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded for, moved and seconded. Any discussion?
You seconded, right, Wade?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We will enter at 10:05 for 15 minutes.
Good overtime.
We're great. All right. We're back.
Next motion we have is, 2023-11. This is, the review and approve the CV2 for Doug Stevenson.
Promotion to crew supervisor, full-time wage, or full-time wage classification 55-10 with wage of $29.66 effective 2/13/23. Discussion.
Just, so it can be, I guess, a part of the record. I met with Ryan, there was a, I don't know if it's called, we wanna call it a deviation request, but the request based on the motion you have right now is, in accordance with and consistent with the compensation policy and procedures for promotions, and I think it's been vetted with Ryan, and then he went through me, and based on where this individual is being placed within the current pay structure, there are valid reasons for the increase, and one of those is a compression issue, but it does meet the compensation policy and procedures for promotions, so.
So I'll move.
Okay, I'll second.
Moved by Tom, seconded by Don. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next is the time of year for going out for bid for liquid asphalt and cold mix. So I've got a couple of motions for those. On the liquid asphalt, just for information, we're looking to chip like 59 miles this year, I think, so this would be the asphalt for the chip oil and also the fog oil. So we're estimated like 1.2 million for our 2023 projects, which, I mean, our oil's always a big one, but we're looking at 444,000 of chip oil and 106,000 gallons of fog oil.
Motion 2023-13, based upon the recommendation of the interim road and bridge superintendent, move to approve the interim road and bridge superintendent to request to solicit bids for liquid asphalt for the 2023 chip seal program, funds to be paid from road and bridge fund.
So moved. I'd second that.
Tom seconded, Wade, Tom moved, Wade seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next would be the
Cold patch.
next coal patch.
Motion 2023-14, based upon the recommendation of the interim road and bridge superintendent, move to approve the interim road and bridge superintendent request to solicit bids for cold mix patching material for 2023 road maintenance, funds to be paid from road and bridge fund.
I'll move.
Steve's moved. I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks. Last one I have is since, Doug was put into the foreman's position, we now have his position as the leadman on the truck crew is open. So we would like to advertise in-house only, to refill that position.
Motion 2023-15, based upon the recommendation of the interim road and bridge superintendent, Move to approve request for advertising, authorization to advertise and hire one full-time crew leader in-house, no new position being added. This request will only fill current vacant position within the department due to position transfer.
So moved.
Tom's moved,
I'll second.
Steve seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I think that's all I have for today, guys.
Right, yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
Yep. Pick those contracts up in commission today, or?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
get them.
Get them signed here.
Okay. All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too, thank you, Ron.
Yes,
Every tab.
She dropped it off right there,
Oh, these new ones?
I think.
Oh, yep, you're right.
I forgot to tell you, sorry.
Okay. If you guys wanna go ahead and sign those, I mean, Justin's done, I'll get them back to you.
Quit.
Yeah.
Jesse, you need to.
Yeah, I still need to sign that.
Yeah.
I just do it when it's
He was
done.
busy, so that's why we sent it that way. If everybody signed, we'll take it back.
has to sign
Oh,
that,
we
is
don't-
that right?
Yes,
And the judge
that
has
was we need to sign that one, and then I can put it to Josephine.
Oh, I didn't even notice it. His name's on the pharmacy.
Okay.
I mean, like, I don't know if there's, I don't remember seeing them before when it comes to stuff like that.
Okay, let me double check.
I didn't notice it.
Well, it was something you,
Yeah, we didn't have that one.
I can't believe that's not customary.
No. In fact, I can take that.
I would say just take the back pages off of them, and just leave that top one, I think's what we normally see, isn't it?
Usually they're blacked out.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
I know.
get them locked out.
The only one I saw, yes.
I'm assuming, no assumption does, but. I know it's for the ships.
Someone should be approved. We can. We pulled that last week.
Yeah,
Good
we were
question.
gonna talk about it
Yes.
when Bobby comes up.
Okay. So I need to hold this back.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what I decided there.
Yes.
Initial. Yeah, if it decides. Oh, did I miss it?
You know, maybe,
I
I don't
did.
know. This is just good, so.
Yeah. Primaries and those. Chips. Yeah, I started reading it.
Or-
It's got a minute.
I'm always curious on the pharmacy ones, like, man.
I'm glad you got that. I need to tell Becky again. Sometime.
I kept this one out, so we can discuss when it comes back into it.
Thanks for that paper.
For the flip is.
Yeah, that came up last week, we had questions.
There's another, but it's back in.
Oh, there is. Don't found that one.
Well,
I know it's for need to let the public. There's one on Cliff, and there's two really further back.
That's all right.
So,
I'll do a round table.
yeah, we can. Well, I hate to call it away, 'cause I know it's gonna end in executive
Well,
session.
mine was too, so.
I have other things I can bring up.
You got other things you can bring up besides that?
Yep.
Okay. We'll hit roundtable. Or partial of it.
So, I guess where I'll start is department heads met last week. We have, I need to talk to you about it. Well,
Timing. Mr. Bobby Skipper, you're front and center, sir.
alright.
Good morning, Commission.
Morning.
Before you start, there is a Karn Inc. for $32,000.
That is the lobbying that the state, that was one of the intent behind the state providing some initial funding, was that we would put together a marketing campaign in DC.
Okay, so this is all going on in DC.
Yes, sir. When it was submitted last week, it included an invoice that we had already paid, so it was good that you
We had a
did.
32,000 invoice, but we pulled it back, correct?
Yes, sir.
Because there was 3 items on there. There was a sign of 16,000,
Yes, sir.
and I forget the other $2 amounts, but I know it was pulled back to.
Google Display, Google Online Display, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube 15-second pre-roll ads, and out front media billboards. So I'm assuming that's along some important
Bus stops.
spots.
That's right, only in the DC metro. So the idea is, we only care about impacting 4 or 5 people at most, and we're fishing inside that DC lake. So their zip codes are what's being targeted with the Facebook, the Twitter, so when they get on their phones and they pull up, what's the weather going to be like today, they're seeing Coffee County, Kansas. We have an active website as well that is up and running for this effort. So they are constantly being redirected to our website. So we're targeting strategically only the people that we need to target. We're not doing national advertising. We're
Hammering that area.
hammering that area. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. That was the, I knew what it was, but they
Okay.
didn't know what it was, so, and it was a sizable amount of money, so.
And if you were to look at the website now, there's graphics and images, again, promoting our project, that I mentioned bus stops, where the actual bus stops that are right outside certain buildings, they have our images on them, on the side of the bus stop. And
You said some of this was already paid and it's coming back around at 32,000.
well, last time you had another invoice of 2,500 on top of that, so that was already paid. That was why when she asked, I said don't pay it, but it is. That is legit, the 32,000.
Okay, so it's been revamped?
Yes,
We're
sir.
good. Okay, that's all I'm gonna make sure of.
Did we have a signature?
More than that, yeah.
Okay.
That, there's still got two signatures from Wade and Don. They were kinda, yes, cause you got, yeah.
There is I think maybe some of the commissioners have mentioned it, but there's a visit next week, and I can't speak to it openly. I thought about how to word it, but it would either require an executive session or just a formal invite that I can send to you. If you just want to wait for that, if you don't want to go into executive session. There's the nature of this visit might, this is our opportunity that I hope we can, I use the word make hay while the sun's shining. If the sun's shining on us, I want to take advantage of it, because this kind of visit doesn't happen very often. And
Ray, can you think of an executive session criteria? You really can't. I was racking my brain thinking about it.
I can't.
Another thing I could go under security.
Yeah, I'm not sure it fits under that either.
I mean, I feel it'd be good for the commission to know the criteria
Yeah.
of this and the importance of this and the importance of not really discussing openly outside. That'd be fair, Bobby?
yes, sir. It's hard to explain without saying too much.
Right.
This visit to the county is worth tens and tens of millions of dollars to the county. Not just immediately, but over the long term.
Let me think about it.
We'll just wait.
Okay.
But that advertising, though, just so maybe to flesh it out a little bit more, that deals with the Vito Chips project, and is one of the all-in strategies by the county, that if the county is successful in its application for that federal CHIPS funding, would be reimbursable expense to the county. I think that part of it needs to be made clear as well.
And I'm guessing that check is marked CHIPS in some way, shape, or form to put it categorized so we know.
So my understanding is Angie, the clerk, is tagging it from her side when she pays these things, and if she's unsure, she calls. But I'm also tagging it from my side, so we have a clear register by line item of what is to be recouped from the companies.
Good enough.
And more importantly, this money has actually been paid for out of the state money. It's coming out of the fund where the state transferred money to the county.
$220,000. 250,000.
So I'll think about whether there's a way to go into executive session.
Okay.
I can come back if you want to.
Yeah, let me think about it. We can cover a couple other things.
You're gonna be available?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, back on round table.
back on roundtable. Two things, I guess to talk about here first. One, we had the department head meeting, all the department heads and a couple number twos met as well. And then Don was present on behalf of the board. And I think what may be easiest, if I can find my remote, some of the topics that were discussed.
Had difficulty last time.
Had difficulty last time?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that rectified now,
Good.
maybe.
There were, when it works right, it works right.
Yeah.
Technology, when it works, is great.
So we talked about a number of different topics. One of the topics was the current policy, or the draft of the policy manual. And there was quite a bit of discussion. Just so you're aware, we started at 3 and we went until 5, and we only stopped at 5 because people had to leave. So there was quite a bit of discussion all across the board, covering a variety of different topics. But the policy manual was one that was discussed quite a bit. So one of the things that got discussed probably in great detail was this wording here that I have. I wanted to highlight it, but I don't have a feature to do that on this particular laptop. So the question was, and Angie can correct me if I'm wrong, and Don can correct me if I'm wrong. And do you have notes that you took from that meeting?
I got a few notes.
Okay. So the introductory period for new and rehired employees, that wording did not sit well because typically it's a probation period, and introductory period is, everybody said that was confusing. So the recommendation would be to consider changing that to a probation period, and I think most jobs have a probation period, and I think people, new hires especially, would probably understand probation better than they would introductory period. And I didn't even think about it at the time, but introductory period, I've never been anywhere where it's called introductory period.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, as long as the rest of the verbiage is good, I guess.
So the other suggestion was to have some sort of statement within that paragraph that talks about, this is me paraphrasing, that the department head or the county gets to make the determination at the end of that probationary period or prior to whether the employee should continue on with employment with the county. So is that a good summary of that, Don? Okay. The other thing is, Angie and I are gonna have a phone conference with Christina, and with the board's blessing, we'll bring up some of these issues that we're about to discuss, so that we're not revisiting over and over and over again.
Well, can we as a board change this to probation period?
It's your policy manual, so.
Well, I mean, I just briefly read through it, and it could be during the probation period, Coffee County, blah, 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 and then everywhere it says introductory period, put probation. I mean, wouldn't that be satisfactory?
Like I said, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, as long as the rest of the definition is fine with everybody, it's just a matter of fact of
180 days,
probation.
180 days.
Most businesses do 6 months.
6 months.
Most of them, because I've only been involved in 2 businesses, but from what I pick up, over the number of years, most businesses do 6 months. And I think probational period is a better word than introductory.
Yeah.
So is department heads are they typically in charge of letting someone go then? So,
If you're an elected, then, I mean, it really doesn't matter, because they get to,
right, but I mean,
For instance, Road and Bridge.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my
They
point.
can
is
fire who they
If-
need to,
Can
is that
they?
correct? Because of
The way I look
the
at it, they absolutely can,
a
I do, I
department
think
head
that's the way it's
can.
gotta be.
yeah.
That's not any of our blessing required on that.
We're not gonna really know,
Determinate someone.
we really don't know how those new employees are working out, you know, the department head.
I understand, I just didn't know if that's something they brought to us, we made the decision, I'm just asking, I don't know how it's done.
I would say somebody that's being terminated would probably be ran through the county attorney or, yeah,
Well,
but that'll lead to a different
paragraph.
a different part of the discussion.
right, I just didn't know if that's, you know, if we're gonna say, you mentioned something to the effect that department head, I didn't know if that was solely their decision or not, is my question.
In my thinking it is, but
It probably should be during the probationary period, and if it can, either prior to or at the expiration of the probationary period, I mean, the people who see and know what's happening should be able to make that decision. Now, hopefully, if there's if that's going to occur, they'll run it through me to make sure it's not being done.
That's my point, is this,
But
this could be a you know, you wouldn't want this to be a personal issue,
right,
to be in,
so we have to
I
make
just
sure.
don't know the duties and the authority of, you know,
Yeah,
department head, is the reason for my question.
nope, and
It needs to
that,
be run through here, or through you, or someone.
and that falls in line with, one of the other things I'll bring up is all the department heads were asking for and in support of a leadership manual, department head manual, and as a part of that, that can be something that sort of
Okay, should be addressed,
trails
maybe,
off of
yeah.
and while I'm mentioning that, so the leadership manual or department head manual, the recommendations or topics to include, and these are just examples, a hiring checklist, a termination checklist or manual, grievance, purchasing policy, discipline, all those things they requested to be in a department head or leadership manual. Did I miss any, Don?
Not that I'm aware of.
Angie? I think my understanding is in several, there was quite a bit of discussion about, you know, the difference between policy, which nobody really has an issue with, and which would go in line with what you're talking about, and then what are the directions, because nobody wants to create, a liability issue for the county in any way, so they wanna make sure that, you know, for example, when they're hiring somebody, everybody is having to follow through the same steps across the board. There's a pre-employment, drug screen, there's X, Y, and Z, because I think what we find is some handle it differently, and whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent, it's just, over time, this is the opportunity to correct that. You know, purchasing policy, some know how to follow it, some don't, and they wanna make sure. Go ahead.
my question on that up there, it says it is the first 180 calendar days. Should there also be wording in there or before? Because your rehire is not gonna, I mean, why would you have a rehire for 180 days under probation when they're a rehire? Now, a new hire, I could see that, but on the other hand, if you got somebody that's totally messing up, are you required to keep them 180 days? Why would you want them 180 days?
I don't think you're required to keep them that long, but
But it's specified there. for the first
Well, it's just-
180 days.
It's a probation period for 180 days, but I think any time in that time,
It could be terminated.
I think it'd be terminated.
But I think it probably should state that.
You know, that's probably not a bad idea.
And that was something that was mentioned.
I mean, because why would, you've got somebody out there being a total mess up, why would you wanna deal with them for 100, or possibly
Well,
180
you're right, I
days?
guess.
But aren't we free to,
Yeah.
aren't we free to,
Well, you should
fire at
be
any
free,
time?
but
I
you're
would think so.
specifying the first 180 days.
The 180 days on new hires, you can let go, on termination, you have to document, you should document, there should be a procedure for termination. Rather than just coming in and say, you're fired. I assume there's a procedure for termination, is there not?
Yes, now, yeah,
Right, and, there'd be documentation leading up to.
There should be.
There should be. Otherwise you're setting yourself up for whatever liability is. On a new hire,
You're throwing a rehire and a new hire all in the same category.
To me, Jesse's comment gives more clarification to it.
it does.
And that's only gonna add 3 or 4 words to it. I would take it, even with that, I would take it that somebody's totally unperforming, get rid of them anyway before you get to 180. But his statement makes it more clear. Now, whether that's necessary or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I would think the word probationary would kind of insinuate that if
You're on
you're not doing
probation.
as you need, then you're gonna go. but,
It
you know,
should be, but I think it still should.
Yeah.
At any time within the 180 days, if the individual whoever you're working for does not deem you're suitable for the job, to the Lubacher, or something like that.
In the handbook policy, I don't know how many paragraphs there are in there, that if an employee is not performing correctly, he'd either be reprimanded or terminated.
Mm-hmm.
That word terminated is used in there, I bet 12, 15 times.
I see.
Just food for thought, Wade. That's
Yep.
my
Yep.
thinking anyway.
You know me,
I'm all about making it simpler, but it seems like to me, simplicity
Clarity
It's out the
too.
window.
is out the window when it comes to this flipping book.
Well, I kind of put it, I'm grasping for words, and I apologize, but it's like the national anthem last night. If you like the national anthem, you didn't like the halftime show. If you like the halftime show, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it just don't really matter what you're gonna put in there, somebody's not gonna like it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
well, the ones that need to like it are the ones that are potentially gonna have to defend the county from a lawsuit. So, that's
And
the
so-
target audience.
And that's where I'm at with it. If you're gonna bless it, then I'm happy.
Yeah, yeah, that's the main thing here.
Once we get to the final version, then I'll go through and do a deep analysis and, I understand why it's being condensed. I just wanna make sure there's still enough direction to withstand scrutiny if there is any
To
scrutiny.
be sliced and diced.
Because you have to understand, let's say we have this introductory period or a probationary period, and it reads exactly like it says right now, just with probationary period. If page 15 of the policy manual is put in front of a judge, whether it be at the state or federal level, and someone is wanting to attack the words because words matter, and you have a plaintiff and the defense, where could there be an ambiguity that someone could say, well, it means this, if you read it this way, well, it means this, and then you have a judge saying, well, if you look at the words and the plain meaning of the words, and if they can't find the definition that the county has, then they'll go to either a case or a regular Webster's dictionary and interpret words, and then you have that. I mean, if you read through case law, that's exactly what happens. So that's why sometimes having things detailed, it matters, because someone other than you is going to be interpreting it, and you want to make sure there's no confusion about what you intended. It's sort of, this is your legislative intent. What you're in essence trying to do. Right. So, and if you have department head 1 and department head 2, and they read it 2 different ways, and they don't ask the clarifying questions, and then you get 2 different people get treated 2 different ways, then you have a whole other. So we just want to make sure it's right across the board, and that's why having the department heads take a look at what's being put forward. I mean, they bring a different level of scrutiny on it.
Exactly.
Those are the ones that's going to have to do it.
Sure. So
That meeting Monday, though, to me was pretty productive. You know, there wasn't anybody that wasn't afraid to speak what their thoughts were. And even though we get this completely done, and most of them will agree with part of it, but they're not gonna agree with all of it.
Sure.
I mean, it's just the way
It's just the
all
way it
of
is.
handbook is, and we'll probably change it 6 months down the road for something we didn't think about, but I thought the meeting was pretty productive as a whole.
It's just like that last 2 lines, the last 2 lines. The introductory period it also provides employees time to decide if the new job meets their expectations. You're hiring for this job. It doesn't matter.
Well, they're free to quit at any
They're free to
time.
quit any time.
Yeah.
So why is that verbiage even there? See, I can shorten that up and turn around and add what I want to and still have the same amount of words in it.
you just want to put it on that page, so.
Yeah, it's done. I mean,
The meeting was very productive, and it was set up in a way where I think everybody felt they could speak their mind and that nothing was going to be,
Sure.
And that's the way it's gotta be.
It is.
it was probably better I wasn't there. I thought it was actually on Thursday instead of Monday, until I got the text message.
Well, I had it wrote in my book, but maybe I wasn't supposed to be there, but I don't know.
Monday afternoon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another one today, at 3 o'clock a.m. And it's gonna discuss the time clocks, which I think Angie will probably bring up during her roundtable. So the next topic was, as we're moving along the list, compensatory time versus overtime, and there was quite a discussion on that and what that looks like, and I think we need to get some clarification there. I don't remember where do you have it marked down where in the?
I don't have it marked down. I just got a good discussion on overtime and comp time, and everybody kept their cool, even though they got different opinions on it. I don't have the page marked down.
Okay. So I think that's gonna need to be discussed, because some have differing opinions on whether you can have comp time or whether it has to be overtime and how that works. And then if you do have comp time, does it have to be satisfied within that work week or in that time period? I don't remember exactly. I was sort of the facilitator, so I probably didn't take the best notes, because I was trying to keep the dialogue moving. But I think that will have to be revisited. If it's going to be overtime, I can tell you there's probably a lot of budgets that aren't set up to deal with what may be coming as far as some of the overtime side of things. I know comp time seems to be something a lot of people like, because they can they can use and maneuver around comp time, but does it withstand legal scrutiny? That's a whole other question. So if you end up with overtime, that will stress some budgets on the budget side.
So was the unliking when that has to be used by, if it was comp time, or was there people saying, you shouldn't be getting comp time, we should be getting overtime?
Yes, to all those, because some departments were doing it one way, some departments were doing it another, and there was sort of the ping-ponging back and forth about what some had interpreted, what you could and couldn't do, and that was that what you heard, Don?
Yeah, there was some discussion on, you know, like when we're shut down for issues with weather or something, and they got a vacation schedule or something, they'd still like to change that back.
Get their vacation another day.
Get their
Use the
vacation
vacation
another
another
day. You had your day scheduled, you had your vacation scheduled, you're not gonna change my mind on that. Mine, anyway.
Some of the questions, came from Road and Bridge, if they had scheduled vacation, they were in the area and they were asked to come in and work 3 minutes snow,
That's totally
to me, a
different.
different story.
That's totally
where,
different.
Yeah, you're not gonna burn a vacation. So,
Yeah, that'd be totally different.
Yeah.
so that was my response.
So I think Angie and I will discuss this overtime comp time issue with Christina when we have our meeting with her, just to make sure there's something not lying out in the weeds, but you know, in the county attorney's office, we end up going all the way through lunch on some of our dockets just because of the bandwidth of what we have, and then we go 5:36. Several years ago, we had a hearing that went to 1:30 in the morning, which isn't the preferred way to do it, but we had experts that we had to deal with on that case, and everybody wanted to move forward. So you look at a work week, and if, I have some employees who come in on the weekends because I have emergency hearings that have to be, the paperwork has to be done, we have to be ready to go, we have timelines that we have to meet, and it just, that's just out of necessity. So in that office, you need to know whether it's gonna be comp time, which I think they'd be fine with, or whether it's gonna be overtime. But if it's gonna be overtime, then that impacts what the budget will be, because you have to build that in to what your annual budget will be. So I'm just,
So those particular overtime, does that amount to very many hours in a year's time versus, and I know your office does.
I'm sure it would, well, it depends on your definition of a lot of overtime. And I think any overtime is a lot of overtime, especially when you're using taxpayer money. But sometimes it's out of necessity that it has to happen. But if somebody could use that time and use it later, and some might prefer to do that, but it needs to be consistent across the board, and it needs to be able to withstand legal scrutiny.
So my question is, the comp time wanting to be able to use the comp time window too short for some of them? Instead of in that pay period, 3 months?
Yeah, that's something we'll have to figure out. I mean, that was brought up for the first time I've ever heard it last week, isn't that?
I think it's in our old policy manual, the comp time, and it's not in this one, so
I don't know what it is, so
I don't see anything in here on the comp time.
it's the
No.
old one. The one
Right,
that's
but on the
current.
new one.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not in the new one.
Right, I don't see it in the new one.
People were concerned that it wasn't in there,
Yeah.
because a lot of people do use the comp time.
So we'll have to visit that. Another thing, just moving along, is we could get bogged down. The bereavement leave, I think there's a question about 48 hours versus, what was the other, 48 hours versus,
24?
what page is that on?
That had only to do with the sheriff's office, so didn't it?
No, I think it had to do with other people too.
I think you're getting closer, Wayne.
Because I know Tom was talking about hours different than the 40 that most of our employees are gonna get.
24?
24 versus 48?
24, page 24.
Oh, page 24.
Sorry.
One more.
So,
I'll brief it for you.
I think it's bereavement leave versus it's funeral leave. For bereavement time, so 3 days. And I thought somewhere else it talked about 48 hours.
I don't have a note on it, but I could not got it written down either.
Yeah, I've got that. But we'll move on from that, because I can't remember exactly what that was. Also, quite a bit of discussion in reference to the time clock, so maybe this is a good time to jump into the time clocks. Last week, maybe to hit that off, emails went out regarding the time clock system and signing up and trying to, for everybody to try to play with the new time clock system, and I think there were quite a few questions that were generated from that. So after Angie talks about the time clocks, then maybe jump back into at least what my notes are.
So as we had talked before, we had technology issues that we were trying to get worked out, and we finally got those resolved 2 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, I guess. And then department heads did bring it up, wanting to know when the time clocks were coming, and I explained that we had to get the technology issues worked out, and that we actually already had training scheduled last Wednesday and Friday, because our trainer didn't have time the week before, so we had to wait a week. Well, so then after our training on Wednesday, she showed us how to go in and set up employees so that they would, be an employee or a supervisor and all that. So after going through that process and saving, and little did I know, it was sending emails out and text messages out to people. So after I got through about 30 of them or so, I thought, oh my gosh, this thing's sending out emails. And so I thought I got to hurry up and send an email out to department heads explaining what's going on. And so by that time I was already in, and so I just kept going. And so we got a few questions on that, but all in all, I think it's been fine. So everybody is practicing now, clocking in, clocking out, just getting a feel for everything, and hopefully department heads, if they have any concerns or questions, we can make changes as we go here over the next couple of weeks. I think starting March 1st, we should be able to go ahead and start it and mirror the timesheets through the month of March and see how it goes when we import the file into CIC. And that might be another little challenge, but we'll see. But at least if the time clock system's working, which it appears to be, then if we have to manually enter until we get the import part taken care of, we're good. But still, we've got the time clock system working. So that's what I was going to discuss with department heads today and show them the reports they can get and explain where we're at and what we're doing here over the next few weeks. So I think that was all on that.
It seemed like on some of the department heads, though, that there was some question on definitely some questions on how it worked and how effective it's gonna be. But if I understood Tom Johnson right, when he was at Anderson County, or Garnett City, for a year and a half, 2 years, that's what they have over there. And I think as he done more talking, I'm not saying you didn't, but as he did more talking, it seemed to give a more positive response from the other department heads.
Yeah, it's not the same program that he used, but it works the same.
Yeah.
You know, the one you guys approved. And so there is a geofence around like the courthouse and Road and Bridge and recycling, so they can be 0.25 miles within the building and be able to clock in on their phone if they want to use their phone, or when they get to the courthouse, they can use their computer or Road and Bridge, wherever. And so it's a little different clocking in on the computer than on the app, but it does, there are those options, so. So we're just kind of feeling through all of this right now, so.
But as the conversation went, they got to feeling a little more confident of that.
Yeah, yeah. And there is no tracking. We do not have any location services turned on for any tracking. We wanted it to be, as you guys had said originally, the least invasive as possible. And basically, they're just clocking in electronically like they would write down their time on a paper timesheet and clocking out. So.
They just have to remember to do it.
Yes.
So some of the questions that came up, and you'll have to jump in if I butcher any of this information, but the 7-minute rule, I don't know if you want to call it a rule, but the 7 minutes, can you explain that?
Well, right now, we don't have that set up for the 7 minutes. Right now, it's at the quarter hour, so, but we can change that. So we're gonna talk about that today to find out what department heads want to do. But if they clock in at 7 minutes till any hour, it's gonna move it to the hour. But right now, it's like if they clock in at 7:46, it'll make it be 8 o'clock. So we can change that, but, and then after work, if it's, say, 5:07, it'll bump it back to 5 o'clock.
So for Road and Bridge especially, since they have so many employees, if you have the 7-minute time window and you only have one computer, you may run into an issue of everybody being able to clock in. So
That's why they did away with time clocks, from what I heard, because of that.
So one of the things to think about is Road and Bridge gonna have to have multiple computers so you can have people there and ready to clock in, because if they clock in too early, then you potentially run into, and you backdate their time, and then they're there earlier, and if you don't pay them for it, then you end up with a wage claim issue. So, you know, I don't know how that will have to be taken into consideration. Some of the others talked about potentially having an iPad that has connectivity for those who are working out in the field, so they can clock in and clock out. I don't know if you want to, or to have assigned phones, county phones, so they can use the phones for those purposes if you have somebody who doesn't want to use their own phone because they have a concern that, well, whatever that issue is. So some logistical type issues that will have to be taken into consideration. Some who work out in the field, they don't take lunches because, and then they leave early because of, I think they talked about what, chip and seal. If you're out doing chip and seal, you can't just take a break because your product will expire and you'll have other problems, so they don't take a lunch, so that has to be taken into consideration as well. A number of different things, just so you're aware on the time clock side, that will continue to be a moving target until it gets sorted out.
And we will discuss a lot of that today too. Right now, the way we have it set up, people are not clocking in and out for breaks, and they're not clocking out for lunch. What happens at the end of the day is it takes an hour off, or in Road and Bridge's case, it'll take 30 minutes off.
Oh, automatically.
Automatically.
Because I was gonna ask if they clocked in and out at lunchtime, but that's gonna be difficult
Yeah.
that's gonna be difficult out in the field. if they're on chip and seal or whatever, or
Sort of use of the phone for clocking in and out, for paying for a stipend, can we request or suggest?
If you're paying for a stipend, you can,
In other words, I don't wanna buy a laptop.
I ain't gonna buy no
Paying for a-
laptop.
If we're paying for a stipend, so,
If you're paying for that cell phone, they can use that cell phone,
that's just a suggestion.
or
Sure.
we'll stop paying stipend.
Well, I mean, these are all things to be thinking about, because they're gonna come.
Or everybody can report to the Coffee County Road Department at the start of every day.
It's all food for thought.
It'll get easier.
Yeah. If you're lucky.
It'll get easier.
Going back to the leadership manual, any issue with, for example, the hiring, having that in a leadership manual or department head manual, hiring, what that process is, so that everybody across the board knows what they need to do.
Hiring and termination.
Okay. Well, that was the next one. Termination, the grievance procedure, if there's a grievance to be filed,
Yeah,
what
they
that
should
looks
have
like.
direction, yeah.
Discipline, which is important, and the ability to, you know, as an at-will employer, you still want to make sure you have a backup that justifies why you did what you did. So
We are
having
an
that,
at-will employer, correct?
what's that?
We are an at-will employer.
Yes. And then the purchasing policy, and I didn't know that was as much of an issue as it was explained that it is, so people want to know sort of what those parameters are and what they need to do.
what was the question on it? May I ask?
Just some guidance, because they don't know when it applies. I mean, it's in the existing manual, I think in an appendix or in the manual, but
yeah.
there are tiers where,
Okay.
so if it's from X amount to X amount, then you can do it without anything. If it's between X and X, you have to do phone calls and 3 phone calls and get quotes. If it's between X and X, you have to do formal bids, and then at a certain point, you have to get the permission from the board to move forward. And what was the, oh, also mentioned, and I didn't put it on my list, was evaluations. I know there's a push to move away from evaluations, but several of the department heads commented and indicated that having evaluations is helpful to the employees to show if they're moving through the steps, or if they're not given a step, if they're given a step, or if they're that feedback is important to some employees, so they know that they're doing what they should be doing, not doing what they should be doing, that their performance is satisfactory, exceptional, so on and so forth. And, you know, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but it also may help her go in line with, if you're someone's being disciplined, somebody's being terminated, also having that evaluation paperwork to go into a personnel file for those same reasons.
Well, it gives the opportunity, if you're not telling people what you want from them, it's not very fair to say they're not giving you what you're asking for if you're not, so it doesn't have, it can be on the positive side. It's a good thing, you know, evaluation is, it's not that you get raked over the coals, you know, this is where we're missing, it's just information for both sides.
Sure. And in the past, there have been situations where employees have not been given their next step, and if they don't have a reason why they're not given their next step, then I'm not sure that's fair either, so.
Right.
It's not.
there's either 8, I forget now when I broke that down, there's either 8 or 10 didn't get step increases last year.
I see. So how frequent would this evaluation take place? What's your thoughts?
I would say at a minimum annually and at or near the time when the step increases are scheduled to occur, so it would be within this timeline. And I think, you know, if you pick a time, that would be the appropriate time, because then you can talk about, here's the anticipated next step, here's where I see you doing well, here's where I see you need to work. And I used to work for the judicial branch, and I would be evaluated once a year, and you'd have 3 different boxes that could be checked: satisfactory, exceptional, and needs improvement. And then you had five sheets of different things that you went through and you evaluated somebody on. And then at the very end, you would make the remark would be eligible for next step, or whatever it would be, or recommended for next step. So, just a thought.
Yeah.
I think if I remember right, Christina, and maybe I missed it, but I thought she was pushing towards not having evaluations.
Either not having it in there or making everybody do it. And holding people's feet to the fire to do it. You couldn't be wishy-washy like it had been done previously, one department doing it, or halfway doing it, and then the other departments are not. It's gotta be all or none, is the way she was. Don't be,
Well,
I mean, she's either 100% for it or 100% against it, but it's gotta be 100%.
I think it needs to be done across the board.
Correct.
Agreed.
I do too.
Or not, one of the two, I mean.
I just think evaluations are important.
It'd be too much if you did it twice a year, or in the middle of the year, you're like, here's what we see, and then if the second one was done before the steps, it'd be, okay, you're not doing what we set out for you. And maybe that's too much to do it twice a year, I don't know, but.
It potentially helps with employee morale too. I mean, it's having an idea of if you're meeting expectations. And
If an employee is honest with himself or herself, they're gonna know that they're not performing. Absolutely. Either that or not even coming close to performing.
Right.
And again, it goes back to the documentation. I mean, you document every time you talk to whoever it may be, whether it's good or bad. I mean, if the employee's doing a great job, then it pretty well shortens things up. You're doing a good job, and then you continue to do it. Maybe that's simplifying it, but that's.
Here 5 or 6 years ago, and I hope I'm not mistaken on this, and Angie, the commission used to evaluate department heads, that was before I came on. And a couple of us was talking and I might have been leading that, I don't know. My concern about that, how do you evaluate somebody you never oversee, even though they're superior? And so the commission pretty well dropped doing evaluations of department heads. You know, we see Angie more than any other, and we see Wade an awful lot. Is that enough to do a true evaluation on their performance?
Well, both of those are elected officials.
Right. You're not doing evaluations.
You won't do evaluations on elected officials.
Well,
Right.
I think that communication would still be positive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that communication between an elected official, an exempt employee, and the commission and overseeing the whole county, I think there still be some positive results out of it.
Probably.
And I don't think that elected officials, would mind that. But how do you evaluate somebody you never technically
Yeah, like the other
see on a daily
department
basis?
heads, yeah. We're not in their office.
In our some
watching
department heads,
their
we don't
actions.
see once every 3 months.
Right.
There was a time when the department heads came before the commission I don't, I'm not too sure it wasn't once a month.
Once a month, I think.
Once a month, that's probably something that'd be good to get back, even if it's only a 5-minute deal.
Yeah,
Mhm.
or at least
To
quarterly.
give them
or
a chance
something.
to, you know, tell us what's really going on, maybe a little more, and give us a chance to ask questions.
I think we
And
all
keep
kind
it
of
on.
discussed it here a while back, not too many weeks or maybe a
Right.
month ago, that we would like to start having department head updates monthly. And we haven't seen the hospital, which that does not have nothing to do, we haven't seen the hospital yet this year.
They're coming the last Monday in February.
Okay. So, it's just
For
updating.
the hospital.
Did they, you know, their CFO's not with them any longer, correct? They hired a new CFO?
Oh, yes, he's
Or-
from Texas.
See, something like that,
Jobin's not
the
there?
second person.
Jobin's there, he's
Jobin's
the finance officer,
Oh.
just left at the end of, around Christmas time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right before
They just
Christmas.
left.
But mostly, the CFO,
Come to me.
with that person probably second in line in command or third, they probably should've, they should've came back in and said something to us.
I'm curious,
And I've got all the respect for the hospital and all the support you can have, but we also give them $3 million a year.
When I talked to, there's a, secretary, Jobin's secretary, and she's also leaving, or has left, but she said that he just has been so busy with everything going on with Sunset and everything, that he was gonna, as soon as he could get her, would be the end of February, so.
Another thing, that department head meeting, there was some discussion on vacation and maximum hours of accumulation. But if I remember right, that was getting pretty close to the, because it's about 5:15 before we got out of there. Half the department heads were gone, and I don't think we did any follow-up on that. So you might want to follow up on that this afternoon a little bit.
So if you look up on the screen, the issue was for years of employment, 0 to 4, the accrued hours, 6.67 per pay period, total accrued per year, days accrued 10. And I don't remember what the current policy is, but I know it was sort of a sticker shock, so to speak, and I don't have that in front of me.
It was, I think, either 0 to 6 months or 0 to 1 year at 6.67, and then it went to, was 8. And then once you got to a certain level, it changed to 10.7 hours.
Yeah, there was, we were starting into another level of conversation, and then the 5 o'clock hour hit, but
I think starting out is what, 0 to 1 year?
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at that for several months, but it was a little bit surprised we went going 0 to 4.
yeah, so currently it's 0 to 1 year is 6.67, after 1 to 10 is 8, 10 to 15 is 10, above 15 is 13.34. So if you go,
So 0 to 1 year, you're getting 10 days a year?
yes,
be 2 weeks.
2 weeks in your first year of employment?
But I think that's pretty normal.
I think that's pretty high.
I think it's after the first year, though, man.
Is it after the first? Well, it just says 0 to 1,
I don't know.
so.
Yeah, you can't take anybody, I'm sure you can't take any vacation until it's after the one
Till you
complete
reach
year.
one.
Till you reach
1 year,
And
right.
I think that's pretty common.
That's pretty common. I guess that's what I meant, was after the first year.
But 2 weeks after the first year.
Yeah.
that's what we did.
Plus a day of
That's-
sick leave
that's-
each month.
And talking to some other businesses around when we go to these KC meetings, stuff like it, in the county business, seemed like it's about all. After the first year, you've earned your 10 days.
Yeah,
I guess I'm a tough guy.
well,
You could be there for 3 years to get 2 weeks.
but you're the boss, you drive the truck, so you don't get it.
It's offered.
Exactly.
So we didn't
That's
get
the
into much
first
discussion on that, so we don't know what all our feelings were. Talked about the Alley County employees, brought them up to date that was gonna be you know, if the best candidate was outside the county, that, the department heads had the right to hire that person.
Alright, so here's the existing. So if you look at that compared with,
We're having a little trouble.
We got a black screen though, we got up top.
oh, well, that's not helpful, is it?
I like what I'm seeing.
I can read as good as everyone for a change.
I thought it was still up there.
Yeah, no. Angie set that book down over there and it went black.
Oh, I must have put it on the remote.
Alright, so this is from the existing policy manual. Just so you can see that. And then you want me to go back to the draft? This is,
A number of months ago, might have been a year ago, the old policy was 1 to 10 years for that next step. We thought that was too long a period.
Hey, Mark.
I don't remember when we changed that, Tom, but which, and that's one reason we went from, I think, 0 to 4 and then 5 to 10. We got 4 steps in it now instead of 3.
We've got executive sessions.
I guess we had 4 then, 'cause it maxes out at 240.
so, I mean, that was just something that was brought up, 0 to 4, the 6.67, and I know they thought it was a pretty significant change, and then the question was asked about, what about those who are already within the existing policy manual, where it's 0 to 1, how would this apply to them? So, anyways, the discussion will continue.
Guys are, the change in the manual will affect the guys that's already been, the question is
How will it impact
Yeah.
people who are within,
That's in that 3 and 4 years.
right,
so just some food for thought. That's why having those meetings is important, important to have, at least a commissioner there so you can hear as well. So if somebody can be there this afternoon, that would be, important. Then you can hear, hopefully, some additional dialogue regarding some of these same issues. All right. We could get bogged down on this for a long time, but I already got way off further into the weeds than I wanted to. The next thing is Commissioner Tom and I here recently met with Joe Seymour from River City, and this is the most recent version of the construction manager contract after having met with Tom and I to discuss some of the internal terms and conditions. So I don't know if we need to go through all of the page for page, but it's the agreement, and it's going to be the contract with River City, it's gonna be sort of a living, breathing document, because it's gonna change multiple times throughout the course of, this project, just because of different things that will occur, and that's common, when you have this type of, arrangement. And Tom can probably tell you more about that, because he's been a part of this process. These are standard forms that are used kind of across the board. Some of the highlights, will be, so, section 1.14, owners' anticipated design and construction milestone dates, as you see, to be mutually agreed upon with Coffee County and River City, and that's not uncommon, because we're still waiting for the final design and construction milestones. Once we have that, then this document will be amended to include those, to fill in the blanks, I guess. And if you see somewhere you think I need to stop, Tom, let me know.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, it's a standard document. All general contractors, subcontractors get, negotiate. A lot of the terminologies is, you know, like, insurance requirements and or, bonds, as well as retainage of payments. You never pay a contractor in full until the job's done. That way you've got something to go back on, that you need.
And we're still waiting on the guaranteed maximum price proposal, which is in the works, and that's a significant, piece of all of this, because that's the
So that would stay the same then, once they got that, or would that
yes,
be?
that once they get to the maximum price proposal, that's sort of the boundaries that all this has to operate within.
Okay. Cause some of these other things change then, do they, Tom? Is that what I'm hearing you say, or?
Well, other than their time frames and their guaranteed maximum price proposal, no, everything else
Okay.
kind of remains.
So,
You know, the timing of everything just depends on when the completion of the design is done. I mean, 'cause that's always been a ever-changing thing for budgetary purposes, or
On a project like this, Tom, do they normally withhold 10% back, or they let the bond handle any issues that come up later?
most do 10%. I think this one is 5, am I right?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The, retainage fee, I think on this one it was 5%.
Was it 5 or 575? Remember we had that?
Yeah, I thought it was 5, but
So, here's.
some companies are going to 5%. I just signed one the other day, it was 5%.
Pre-construction services.
State does 0, the bond handler.
This is one of the things that was agreed to, $35,500 for the pre-construction phase services, and that's consistent with what you've seen previously. Maybe you remember it, maybe you don't, but, that's one of the things. Construction manager fee, 3.75 of the cost of the work. Subcontractor overhead and profit for increases in the cost of its portion of the work, 14% on self-performed work, 5% on second-tier subcontractor and supplies. And that's something that was discussed and talked about, and that's not uncommon. Liquidated damages, discussion on that, $500 per calendar day.
So in other words, when River City writes a contract to us for a subcontractor, after the design is completely done and you got a better idea of time frames on everything, you kind of hold your subcontractor's feet to the fire by saying if you're not done by X calendar day, then it's $500 a day penalty after that. That's why the retainage comes into effect as well, so that way if you do get into those situations, and because time is of an essence, if we don't hold their feet to the fire somehow, then I mean, I've seen it too many times. If you don't have liquidated damages, or, say you're not done by X calendar day, there's no liquidated damages, what's to keep them from just saying, I'll be there when I get there? So, that's the reasoning to put that in there.
Had quite a lengthy discussion about subcontractors themselves, and you wanna hit on that, Tom? Just if there's a subcontractor that's brought in, what that looks like, and what the contractor there.
Well, we already touched base on the liquidated damages for the subcontractor, that and having them bond their portion of the project. And then the retainage was 5%.
There's 10% retained on that one.
It says,
Oh, down below.
oh, yes, it is, it's 10%, and then after a certain amount of the project was completed, after 50% of the contract
50%.
was completed, we'll reduce it to 5.
Okay.
So,
This particular project, do you expect to have subcontractors involved
there'll be times. You'll have
in the parking stuff?
Oh, even on the part, well, it's all combined into a project now, 2 different phases, so to speak. So, yeah, there'll be, I'm sure there's gonna be some asphalt patching, where you got an asphalt contractor, a concrete, and a dirt contractor over
I
there.
figured maybe a concrete contractor would just take care of the whole thing, but
Well, you'll have one general contractor, whether it's a asphalt contractor, a dirt contractor, or a concrete contractor. You're gonna have one general, and he's gonna have 2 subs, I'll put it that way. Just like the building of the building, construction of the building, you got your construction manager, and he's gonna have an electrical subcontractor, an HVAC, a concrete, a block, I mean.
But
all
he's
of
gonna be overall.
He's gotta be, he's responsible for all of it. We don't have, you write one contract for the parking area, and then you'll write a contract for the jail, which we've kinda already done, so. They'll be responsible for all of it.
So you'll see, there's a number of different documents that get attached to this agreement, and then I think over time, they'll sort of be supplemented or modified or amended.
Well, a lot of times the exhibit A or B or C or whatever is just a general proposal that the particular entity presents to the general contractor, so to speak, or even us. That says, yeah, I'm gonna do it for this amount of dollars, and that's exhibit A. And then if it's getting paid by the square foot, then exhibit B goes into effect, and, all that kind of.
So although they don't plan on, River City doesn't plan on self-performing,
No, he does
there is a
not.
provision for any subcontracts, construction manager proposes to self-perform, construction manager shall solicit bids from 2 additional qualified subcontractors, and the construction manager shall submit its own bid for the scope of work a minimum of 24 hours prior to the bid deadline.
And that's just to keep everybody honest, so to speak, on the same page. So where you can't, well, if River City's gonna self-perform any of it for X amount of dollars, well, how do we know he's not the lowest bid? So, that keeps everybody on the same playing field, so to speak.
So that's that. It's real quick, down and dirty.
Okay.
I'm ready for it to be off to the races,
Yeah,
as well as the policy man.
the sheriff met last week, had his summit in Kansas City with River City and Goldberg, and I don't know all the details on that. All I know is at some point in time, if Angie hasn't heard from him already, Goldberg's gonna get on the agenda to talk about it. So, and I think that's a very important meeting that everybody attends. I think there's some design change requests or modifications that will be presented to the board regarding the jail. So, I'm not fully in the know on all of that, but I know enough to know that it's important that that be presented and brought forward. So, outside of that, that's the down and dirty there. Any questions about that? I think this will be ready to be submitted for Jesse's blessing. This just came in last week, so. And time's not of the essence to get it done, but I think we'll wanna get that signed here pretty soon. I'd like to do it probably in concert with when Goldberg's gonna be here. And by that point in time, we may have the max price that can be incorporated into this document, which I think is important. It's not a necessity right now, but if we had it, might as well plug it in.
And he called you last week as well? Larry?
He called and left a message. I was in court.
Okay. That's what I told him. I spoke to him in Lee.
So, outside of that, that's what I have right now. I have, a proposed, lease agreement for that property that my suggestion is to send it with Jesse, see if it meets the tenant's approval, and then bring it back, and if it does, then we can discuss it further.
So when I present it to the tenants, if they can sign it then?
If they're in support of it, that they may wanna have, if they're okay with signing it, they can probably sign it and then bring it back, and I believe it's consistent with what has been discussed previously, but they may wanna take it and have it looked at by legal counsel too.
Which is fine if they do.
Sure.
Or they can copy it off and take a copy of it.
Yep.
But if they feel free, I just wanna make sure I got clearance for them to sign it, if they wanna sign it.
I think they can sign it ahead of time, and they'll bring it back and.
Then the board,
Yep. So,
should the board approve it first before we take it? What the document is at this time.
I mean, if you'd like.
If you did it, I'm good with it, so.
That's where I was gonna go with your conversation. If he wrote
But I
it,
just wanted to make sure I didn't wanna.
If we'll come to the
I'm good with that.
consensus that you're okay with, we're okay with you passing it on, and that's all I'm good.
The only question in putting it together that brought up, and it's probably outside the house and shop side of things, is the land, and the land, it's my understanding, somebody rents the land for some sort of purpose.
Pasture, hay ground.
So
Is
that,
what they do with it?
Yeah, hay ground.
so that may need to be put into some sort of agreement as well, to make sure that
Well, the county could have an agreement between them and the rentor, not them being the renter, but another entity being the rentor.
Right.
Because, I mean, like I say, you know, you're looking at I mean, I'm just gonna throw out, there might not be anything, but at least if there's something there,
Sure.
it could be utilized.
Right.
If the timing is correct.
Right.
So, the majority of it's hay ground, and then there's a little farm ground on it. Farm ground probably, if you're gonna be over into the late fall, that might not be a good thing to have.
But it's mainly hay ground and not pasture.
Right, it's hay ground.
Right, okay.
Angie, question for you, and this, if a check or a money order, however the payment would be made, does it need to be made to Coffee County? And, within the agreement, it has a request for the memo section to designate the address of the property so that it's known. But outside of saying Coffee County, does it need to be addressed to, or should it be addressed to a check made payable to Coffee County treasurer? That was the only other thing that I didn't know, and I wanted to make sure.
It depends on where you want it remitted to, where you want the money to go back to, this community improvement reserve where you purchased the property from, or?
That's what I was just getting ready to look up, but that's a good, probably the place to put it. I
Is that where it came out, that's where it came out of? So that would be reimbursing that.
That fund.
So I would have them do to Coffee County and maybe to my office, so then I can know when it comes in to let the board know, and then we can keep track of that.
Okay.
That's normally how we do those things.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Because you've got a paper trail that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just need to make that.
That's what we did with the hospital when they paid back. That's what we've done with. But you can change it if you want to too.
Outside of that, that's the last thing I can think of other than an executive session.
We'll roll on around the corner if Steve's got any.
You said you had an executive session?
Yes.
That's what this is?
Oh, I just put a generic one in there.
Oh, okay.
So we get to it. 'Cause,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't.
You don't have any round table, Steve? Don, you got any round table? Wade?
Nope.
Tom? Yours is...
No, I mean, when we get done with Wade's, I'll see if I can't request 10 minutes, just to plant a seed.
The only thing, Angie, you got anything?
Couple. So, in talking with Wade and District Court, there was a need for seating outside, because they get really busy whenever they have court days and stuff, and when it's nicer weather. And so, we also got the little plaque thing for Bob, since he didn't want a plaque, it's on one of the benches. But in talking with Wade, when we went to order those, we ordered through the Kansas Correctional Industries, and they came last week. So if you guys want to determine if you want them anchored down, or where you want them, were you gonna ask them that, Wade, or just?
Yep,
Did I go over that?
Well, no, I forgot to mention it, so those two benches, they're heavy, they're sitting down right now. Angie was gonna have them anchored down last week, and I said, well, it might be good to have the commissioners go down, take a look and see if you like the placement, since you're in charge of the building and, what happens with the building. So, they look nice, the Kansas Correctional Industries, inmates make these things, and I think everybody can buy things at a discount. So I don't know what the cost of them was. I'm sure it was-
It was about $600 per bench, which is really inexpensive for as heavy as they are. So,
So maybe, give an extra minute or two going downstairs and just pop your head outside. You can look at one, and they're sitting both at the ends. And I think all Angie needs is a green light, and then Road and Bridge would come back and fasten them down.
You say you got two of them?
yeah. because a lot of times when there's court, people are standing out everywhere and there's nowhere for them to go and sit. And I'd had,
Was it 4 or 6 foot long?
6 foot, I think, yeah.
Get 3 or 4 people on there.
May end up being the smoking benches.
That'll
Not
irritate,
within 50 feet.
yeah, that'll irritate Bob.
That also brings up, there's 2 trees that Barb has approached me about. They're new trees that were planted, I don't know, within the last couple of years. If this parking lot project gets moving, the request is to move them from where they are because they will be removed one way or another and placed across the street and at or near the gazebo. She sent me the pricing pictures and I believe Steve Strotter, the one that
Probably.
moves them.
Probably.
He's indicated he could move them for both of them somewhere around $300. So for those who want to make sure the trees are protected, that's a way to protect the trees. I don't know if we'll be able to salvage all the trees, but these are small enough right now that they will,
To move easily.
yes.
Anything else?
Yes. So every year, there's the Southeast Kansas, district meeting is in each county, or in a county, one in the spring, one in the fall. And this year was supposed to be in Chautauqua this spring, but their commissioners voted to not have it, so they're not gonna do it. So there won't be a spring Southeast Kansas district meeting this year. The next one will be in the fall in Cherokee County, and then the next year in the spring will be Coffee County again. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I don't think any of you have ever, you weren't in one, were you, Don? I think it was,
I don't recall being here in Gulf County.
yeah,
since
we've
I-
had it here, well, since I've been here, it's been here twice, so this will be the 3rd time in my time being here. So I've been through it before, and I know what we did, and I can
Okay.
arrange that or whatever, but we need to think about, prizes. They do drawings for prizes, and what we've done in the past, all I can tell you is what we've done in the past. The first time, we got lots of things to give everybody, so everybody had something, like a little plant or whatever. And then other gifts throughout the county you could buy or whatever. But then, the last time we did it, we still did the little flower pot things or whatever, so people could take one of those. But we also bought about a $50 to $75 gift, and I don't know if that'd be more this time or not, from a gift from each city in the county to draw, or however we did it. Put a sticker on the bottom of the chair, and whoever had it got the gift. So kind of be thinking of how you want to handle going forward. Last time it was centered around wellness, and so we had a bike and some other things. It might have been more than, maybe that was the grand prize gift or something, but anyway, be thinking about how you want to do that.
Seems like most of the counties have designed a carry bag.
Yeah,
They
we had
carry
that too.
just a cloth one, I don't know, they probably cost $10, I don't know, but most counties do that, and they've got a whole bunch of items in it from different businesses throughout.
Mhm. Yep, that's part of the
With everything we got
registering.
going on, we got a lot that we can promote.
Yeah, so just be thinking about that. Another thing is the NextEra Energy called last week, and they sent the, transmission Southwest binders for public access and viewing to be in my office as a central location where if anyone wanted to come in and take a look at the project, they could see, and there's a whole box, so this is just to remind me to tell you about it. So, if you know of anyone that's wanting to see it, we got it in there. That tourism board appointment, we still need to get on there. I don't know if Steve or Don, Wade, Tom, any of you guys, Jesse, someone from your city that's not in Burlington, because I think, Tom, didn't you mention last week it'd be nice to have someone, or Jet, or Bobby did maybe, had someone from another
Yeah,
city.
I thought he was working on that.
Okay, I haven't heard anything,
I
so
thought.
I'll check with him again.
I thought that's what we were doing, but I can't
Yeah,
remember.
so we need to get that filled.
I thought he said he had somebody in mind or
I thought so
somebody that
too.
was
Okay,
on the hook maybe.
I will
Probably
check with
just enough
him.
going on, just,
I know.
it's on the back burner probably.
Okay, and then lastly, I checked with the hotel, and they have lots of rooms available out there for the Kansas County Commissioners meeting, so I don't know if there's a rush to get in, but if anyone is interested in going,
I will have family in from out of state that week,
Is
so.
that the one out of Hayes?
yes.
Hayes, is it Hayes?
Hayes.
or Swan?
Hayes.
Hayes.
And that's next week?
No.
No, it's,
April.
April 25th to,
Okay.
It doesn't start
I'll
until
be gone, yeah.
Tuesday night.
okay, so you two are out, and then it's
Have you
just if
been-
any of you
have
wanna
been out
go.
there?
I haven't been to Hayes, 'cause most of the time, it's either Wichita or Kansas City. It just looks like a shorter meeting, 'cause registration isn't until Wednesday morning at 6. Just a one-day meeting, and then on
Thursday, you get off at.
Thursday is when we break down into individual counties based on size. And the last 2 or 3 I've been to on that particular session, not very darn productive. That's not saying this one won't be.
It's a good thing for the new commissioners to go to, I will say. I mean, and a lot of it is to go out and meet people, shake hands, introduce, give a business card, get their business card, because you might want to call on them,
Sure.
you know, and ask them some questions on how they do this or something like that, you know. It was eye-opening, but, ours was during COVID, so it was such a,
Screwed up deal.
it was, I didn't care for it.
Yeah.
I looked at the agenda, I mean, the agenda looks pretty interesting, I mean, I don't know how much you get from it, but I'm still thinking that.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine, no
I'm thinking
pressure.
about it, yeah.
I just wanna keep reminding you so that it,
Seems like a lot of times we pick up more information from other commissions from other counties,
Yeah.
so. And whether it's,
Sitting around visiting with them is good. And like I say, shaking hands and swapping business cards and stuff like that is nice.
what's that cost us here, 3.5, 400?
is it on your sheet or no?
No, I don't think, it don't make any difference.
I do that one.
Okay,
Just if you go, make sure you got a tax exempt form
yeah.
Yeah,
we can
and-
for your
go with
hotel
them.
room.
Okay.
$250 per person,
350?
$250.
250.
And if you just wanna go for Wednesday only, the one day, it's $150. And then if you're gonna have a spouse with you, a meal and tour ticket, it's $100 per person. So,
And the room's booked through the clerk's office, right? You booked your room?
I can book it for you. But I just see you something now that says Hilton Garden Inn is sold out on which when I called last week, she said they had plenty of room. I don't know.
There's a lot of motel rooms, because they house the state basketball games and stuff like that. There's a lot of places out there to stay, yeah. Especially over on the north side of the interstates, like all motels, I think, nowadays.
Yeah.
Some eating
Yeah.
joints. It's pretty
Well,
nice.
there's some
place.
south of the interstate
Yep,
too, there
yep.
in Hayes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Salina, I'm sorry.
It's always nice to be in the hotel where you're having the conference deal though.
Yes.
But on this, it's got Salina, Kansas.
Hold on a minute. Yeah, it does. Hold on.
I thought the information I had on my phone was Hayes.
That's what I thought it was, Hayes. That was for 2022.
Oh.
Hold on a minute.
I'm sorry.
I probably grabbed the wrong link.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
I think that's the
I
same one I
thought it was
got.
Hayes.
No, I kept on,
I've got the one at home that's got Hayes on
Well, if you can show up there and nobody's there, you know.
You're the wrong one.
Head
You
on
went
up
too
the
far.
road a ways.
Yeah, you did go far enough.
yeah.
What the heck?
Take a right.
it. I think
Yeah.
that date's even wrong. Let's see.
I think I gave you the right one the time before, but
Hey, the time before is 22/2.
It is?
4/22.
I'll be
I
darned.
didn't even look at the date, I just looked at the city and saw it was Salina.
I could've swore she was out an email and I couldn't.
You know, I made a comment here 2 weeks ago
I knew I wasn't going.
Okay, hold on.
that it was always a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we missed that first night. This here's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'll bet back on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
So it's fine.
Yeah. Probably go on the phone and find it.
It says April 2022 too as well, so. For
Okay,
this year?
Mm.
No, that
Well,
says 22.
Oh.
2023. So sorry. I thought when she sent that.
I might be able to go.
Last year, a year ago?
I don't wanna relive last year. I don't wanna go through this all over again.
Date for KAC meeting in Hayes.
I know it was in annual conference there, okay.
That'd say 2023 at the top.
2023, Kansas County Commissioners, okay, so now. Annual conference. Hayes, Kansas, Hilton Garden Inn, okay. So yeah.
April 25th through the 27th.
Yep.
According to Nomads Unveiled, Kansas is known for its vast prairies, rolling hills.
So the dates are right, 25th to
Yeah.
the 27th of April.
Yeah. I know I printed it off at least once, right?
It is in Hayes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know, I can't get it out of here.
I think the first papers you gave us here 3 or 4 weeks ago I think it had.
It did, I think when I printed it off last week, it was wrong. Yep, 2023 Kansas County Commissioners Association Annual Conference, April 25th through 27, Hayes, Ellis County, Kansas. So, yeah, because when I called for rooms, they said they weren't booked at all.
When are we doing checks and vouchers that month?
In April, we are doing them,
Is it at the bottom?
yeah,
April, we're doing them on the 26th.
yeah.
Give us a little motivation to go, Steve.
Do I? Yeah.
That's more motivation.
Yeah, 26th.
That's all I had.
Okay. The only thing I have is the rumor mill flooding up in the northern side of Coffee County, that we've sold the property back to Kevin Bailey for about half the money that we gave for it, so.
And I heard that also.
I was just wanting to stay on public, no, we have not, and nor are we going to, so, people don't have anything better to do than spread hate and discontent, so. Know your role and hush your mouth.
No. I was famous for that.
All right, let's get to the executive session.
While you're talking about property, it's a good, just bring this up because you've talked about some things that can be done. I know this is what's going on in Neosho County. Kansas Neighborhood Revitalization Act provide communities with long-term increase and stabilization in their property tax base by encouraging rehabilitation or new construction which may not otherwise have occurred. So Osage County is a part of that. Osage County Neighborhood Revitalization Program designed to give property owners in Osage County the opportunity on the increased value of the property to receive a 10-year tax rebate. Rebate is applied to the additional property taxes that are incurred as a result of rehabilitation properties or new construction. Does not affect your current property taxes, still required to pay all property taxes, but you will be rebated a percentage of the increase due to the improvement if the project meets all requirements. You have to be determined eligible, so rebate scale, determined by the taxing district, blah, blah, blah. So then here's some of the qualifications. So I only mention it, I know Coffee County's wanting to be creative in how to encourage growth. This is one of the tools that's out there. And not only does it apply to existing construction, if you improve your property, but it's also apparently applied to some new construction as well.
And there was also some talk, and I've been, kind of one of my things I've been working on since I got here, as well as, property maintenance codes or code services or whatever. But if you own a piece of property and you do improve it, basically, your value doesn't change for 10 years. I mean, not being penalized on fixing your place up, and the same would go for, even if you don't live there, if you're a landlord, so to speak, and you've got apartment complexes and you wanna do something to better the look for them, or just even a house, I mean, wouldn't matter whether you lived in it or rented it out. If you did improvements to better the neighborhood, the community, and all like that, you just don't get beat up on taxes right away.
Well, I mean, it
That's kind of-
discourages people from doing something.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
So, and that neighborhood revitalization is kind of the same concept, so to speak.
So you have to apply to participate, be given the green light by Osage County Commissioners. And then the project must increase the value of the property by an excess of 15%. So,
I've been talking with Skipper on just that, as well as Carl Lee, so.
it's interesting because it's a neighboring county and they're doing it now, so it'd be interesting if you maybe reached out to one of their commissioners and see how receptive it's been, and, you know, if there's new construction up there. I think if I remember right, the city of Carbondale was looking at trying to expand quite a bit because they have a lot of activity there. They're right off of 75. So, you know, here's some of
Franklin County has it.
the eligible property types: residential, commercial, industrial, historical properties, agricultural properties. So, just something to, I don't know why it popped into my head, but
Well, with the situation that we have and that we're looking at, housing is a big thing.
Yep.
And it's gonna be.
It's gonna be, and if you're gonna fix it up to make it more suitable
Mhm.
for different clientele, so to speak, which is gonna be, it's gonna be needed.
but it's
And
also
it's needed now, whether the CHIPS thing does it
Right,
or not. I
exactly.
mean, it's
Right.
needed now. I mean, I've always been, my thoughts is, I mean, the housing study said there was 2,000 people that come from out of county to work here, as well as 2,000 from county leave here. So those 2,000 that come here, or even the 2,000 that leave here, if we have opportunities for them to work here and not leave, that's great. But then by the same token, you got those other people coming into the county working. If you can have housing to have them living here instead of traveling back to where
Yeah,
they
get
work.
some, yeah.
So with that one place wherever they're working, dad's gotta have a job somewhere, or the son's gotta have a job somewhere. I mean, it just, it'll help your business, it'll help my business, it helps everybody's business.
It's hard to see 2,700 people leaving the county to go to
I
work.
don't doubt it.
I don't either.
I can count.
I'm down there, we're on 58, you know, we see some traffic going east, but not a lot.
I just, people that I know personally, I can count over 10 sitting here right now.
Sit at Casey's about 6 o'clock in the morning. Every vehicle's getting on the interstate going to Emporia or going north
Mhm.
towards Ottawa. Every vehicle, I mean, it's all the time. And 5:30, you better look out because they're all coming off the interstate.
Yeah, they're coming home, yeah.
They're coming home, so.
You're driving 50 miles one way, it's not an issue anymore.
No.
Don't seem
No,
like
it's
it.
not. People
Two
don't
people
seem
would
to.
do that every day.
Yep.
Did it for 10 years.
Yep.
and it could also benefit existing landowners.
Exactly.
Yep.
But as you see, it doesn't include garages, gazebos, storage buildings, workshops, swimming pools, and that's for both
Rehabilitation.
rehabilitation to existing residential structures and new construction.
I think they're good programs, and I know Skipper's got a lot on his plate, and he and I do have these conversations about, things just like this, so. And that's,
That cover new construction.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
new construction and applicant purchasing property pursuant to an installment contract and who has an equitable interest in the real property is also eligible.
meaning landlords, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So,
No, I
There's
think
a
something
few
like,
instances in town where a mobile home can be pulled out, a better one put in.
Mhm.
And you don't wanna discourage them from doing that, because it's not only helping the cosmetics of your city, but the safety of your citizens as well.
who's that from, Wade?
who's what from?
I mean, I see participating taxing entities.
Those are in the county of Osage.
Oh, Osage, okay,
City of
yeah,
Burlingame,
yes, okay,
City
yeah.
of Carbondale, and
Yep.
Osage, I would agree. They all play a role.
So we would have to
Coffee
get-
County did it, you'd have Lebo, where.
We'd have to get all the cities involved in it as well.
Exactly.
And they've got forms you can look at, but this is directly off of their website.
Do you have to adopt this? Is this a resolution?
I'm sure there's something that pulls the county into it.
Yeah, Bobby was, again, must have got everything going on.
Mhm.
You had to, more than once, we've had the discussion, so. It's a state program.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is their specific plan. See at the very bottom of,
If I remember right, you had to have certain parts. No, you can enroll the whole county, can't you?
so here's probably their interlocal agreement, which would have had to been signed off.
There's a resolution.
Yep.
There's one of those programs where you had to have certain parts of each city had to be enrolled, you couldn't enroll the whole
So-
city, so, I think Skipper was checking on which one would be the best.
March 14th of 2020 is when they,
22.
or 2022, sorry.
Just got it rolling.
Application.
I got an acquaintance that lives in Ottawa, bought a house for his mother-in-law after her father-in-law passed away, and they had to remodel, and they enrolled in that, to where
Doesn't raise the property
they
tax
never
for
affected
you.
them, so it was an awesome deal.
So I figured this would be a good time to just throw it out there, and since you can throw it up on the screen, that's,
He likes that new toy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we're blind if we don't try to do something along this line as well. 'Cause
Yeah.
If not, we're just gonna be bringing more people out of other counties into here to work, taking money back home. And we
Well-
might be too late, I don't know.
and they're already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just the county to the north, so.
The only thing that goes, for me, and that's just my line of thinking, goes hand in hand with that, is licensing of your contractors. When you go back to this AIA document we're gonna sign with River City, and River City's gonna enter into with any other contractor, one of the requirements is you have to have workman's comp, general liability, insured up to $2 million per occurrence, and be bonded. But anybody can come to town and throw up some 2x4s and
Mm-hmm.
build a house.
And call themselves a contractor,
Exactly.
or an electrician, or a
Exactly.
plumber.
So the reason I say that, and maybe I should ad lib to that a little bit more, would be that I don't think a lot of people realize that if you have somebody come to your house and do some remodeling for you, and their employee saws a thumb off with a skill saw, you are liable.
Yeah, landowner's liable.
If you don't have workman's comp and general liability, that landowner's liable for that accident. So, there would be you're protecting your citizens by having your contractors licensed. In the long run, you're protecting your citizens.
It does drive the prices up a little bit, but you're gonna pay for it one way or the other. If somebody has an accident, you're gonna pay, you could pay for it dearly.
Heaven forbid, I think they're
Yeah.
far and few between the accidents are, but you're just gonna protect the homeowner.
Mhm. I'd really like to see something like that get off the ground and the code of stuff.
Well, I think we're getting close.
All right, so, sorry, didn't mean to throw that back up there, but
You went off into the trees again.
Yeah.
that was a good tree to go into.
It was, yeah. Thank you.
With that being said, I'd like to request a 15-minute executive session, non-elected personnel, evaluation and performance, 15 minutes, and then maybe add a couple extra minutes to go take a look at the benches, which won't take very long.
So you want minutes added on to the 15 minutes, or you wanna do that on the way down?
Give us 2 more minutes longer to get down there,
Okay.
Yep.
correct?
Okay. Wait, I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Aye, motion passes. We will enter at 12:35. For 15 minutes.
I'm trying to help.
You're helping me with
The math.
Yep.
12 what?
35.
That'll give us some time to look at the benches.
Okay.
Leave your glasses.
You might.
I'll have you hold it.
The dates, because they're not, I caught that.
Okay.
It's on that, and it's on.
There we go.
So I don't think 15 minutes is long enough. I think we need
It
to
never is.
continue. Well,
I'm joking with you, I'm sorry. Smile.
usually I'm a little off. Maybe 10, 15 more minutes
Do 15.
Let's go 15 more.
That's what I've got it set for.
under the
Maybe
same
20.
Same thing as last time. Same people. Only thing that changes is the time.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved by me, seconded by Don. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We will enter at 12:55.
I tell you what, since my blood sugars have gone back in check, my energy level. Yeah.
See, I'm not sure. I would say, yeah.
We'll get it from the other way, okay?
Okay.
Because that's not my field of expertise.
Okay.
Guess we're back on the camera.
Yeah.
Probably our computer computer's charged, or you need to hit your button on your charger?
I'm
I'm still at 100%.
Still doing
I mean, I
okay.
think my charger's.
I went around and bumped them all, so
Okay.
hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah,
This one says 20, so.
mine's at
20%?
15. Mine's
Yeah.
at 15.
On that black box on the very front where you're at looking at it, the other way, the other side, the bottom.
On
Hit
here?
hit that button.
Or you're not charging.
On this end?
Yeah, there should be a little button.
There you go. You're charging now.
There you go. I think I heard it.
Oh, use a little clock.
Hmm?
This will be.
Oh, it is?
That's the
Yeah.
one in the corner.
No, she said she thought she heard a beep, I think.
Oh.
Said, no, it's just a little clock.
I mean, this clock been, we was kinda having some difficulties.
I've got one of these that, is solar powered.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does it work good?
Yeah, it really does. Got it for something I bought, I don't know what,
Oh,
or maybe the insurance salesman gave it to me or something, but
Uh-huh.
it's pretty slick, if you
Yeah.
don't have any, if you're out and
You-
don't have a charger, if you
Yeah.
happen to have that thing, lay it there in the dash or wherever, and,
Yeah, that'd be great.
or, actually, it works pretty good.
Checking.
Waiting for me?
No, well, checking. On the next one.
Okay.
Did you get yours, is yours being done in this, what you had?
Just, he's got his research.
Okay.
Do any of you think you're gonna be there at 3 o'clock this afternoon?
Might still be here.
Oh, that's true.
If my presence isn't requested, I have something I'd like to get done.
Okay.
What time is it, Wade?
3? Yep.
I mean, I can if it's
I have
I-
something
I
I
could do
kinda
it.
need to do,
You
but
can
I
do
can
it?
I
always
could do it.
Okay.
make a change, had to,
No, I can do it. You're gonna need Wade, right?
Well, yeah,
No, I'm
maybe.
kidding. I'm
We're not
kidding.
done here
I'm
yet.
kidding.
I'm not very good in the
No,
dark
I can do
anymore,
that.
so.
We have a taker, so. I think it's good just to at least have one of you.
I need to crawl back in the truck again, so.
I can if this is necessity, that's not,
Nope,
if Steve's gonna do it, that's great.
yep.
Is he back?
Yeah, he said he was walking in.
Oh,
There he is. What, and that's gonna be enough for it?
over 2:20. With 10 minutes in working.
Mhm. Hi, Carl.
Good afternoon.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
How was lunch?
Good.
Good. Lunch is
Got my
awesome.
Valentine for my granddaughter.
All right.
Well, you're in business then.
I know. It doesn't get any better than that.
That's right, that's right.
That's why I still got it in my hand. I haven't went by my office yet, so. Because I told you 10 instead of 12.
10 is at 12. Well, Louis is a little faster.
That's okay.
Wade, you want to see?
Yep, request a 15-minute executive session, myself, the board, Carl, non-elected personnel, and its, employee, review, I guess is, performance review is the best way to describe it.
Okay. I'm gonna override you to 20 minutes instead of 15.
Okay.
It saves steps. It really does. I'll make that motion.
Yeah.
Steve's moved.
I'd second that.
Wade second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll enter at 119. 19. We can make it down there. 119. Yeah. Just changed.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it used to be I could tag all my stuff. 500 maybe.
Yeah, I'm probably,
I'm small.
probably 130,
130,000.
just for the trucks and trailers.
I said, I know I'm small, of course, I don't have that. Mine's 100 mile radius. I can't.
Right, you're not out further. Your, I don't know if Wade has anything else at all. His computer's still here. Did stuff get covered that you wanted?
Yes,
Okay.
research is being done, and I think the other situation is, next week. No action was taken other than
Yeah,
last
yeah, no action was taken on, under the last executive session, or the last
three.
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 So, I don't know, Wade is, I think, coming back up, I don't know if he has anything or not. I would hate to adjourn without. Any new roundtable stuff come up since we've been gone for,
One
Yeah,
thing, I got a message from recycling, they have a big yellow box truck that they wanna get rid of. They don't know if you guys wanted to put it like on Purple Wave or auction website, or wait to see if we have an auction this year. I don't know how much stuff we got out there, I'd have to see.
And what are they wanting to do? Andy?
getting rid of their recycling truck.
Oh,
The big yellow
They got a
one.
new one.
Myself, I've had by far the best results with Big Iron, but that's just been my personal experience.
We used a local company. Who'd we use here?
Heartland.
He's
I
not in
think-
operation anymore, I don't
He's
think, our
not.
local guy is.
Uh,
I was gonna say,
I've never dealt with any of them, so I don't.
Two.
Big Iron or Purple Wave, either one.
Big Iron charges the buyer 10% buyer's premium, and
Mhm.
Purple Wave charges the buyer as well, don't they?
Yeah, they charge 10% premium plus 4% or something to the seller, so.
Okay, so I can tell them to look at that, maybe look into that.
Probably check in with Wade, see what all needs to be done prior to
Okay.
that.
What is it?
Recycling box truck that they replaced. The yellow one was deemed non-usable to the county, I guess, or will be.
But we'll have to make a motion to allow them to do that, so.
Some sort of value, doesn't it?
Oh,
Yeah, so we're talking about
Oh,
putting it on internet auction.
gotcha.
There still has to be a motion for where you can do that, so.
So I have to get with Wade to get that, or you
Yeah.
probably got the motion
Yeah,
information to give to them, verbiage, they can bring it in.
okay.
Do you have anything else, Wade?
I've always got something, but I think that's enough for today.
Enough beatings?
Lot of moving parts.
Every week.
Yes, sir, for sure. Well,
We'll close next Monday,
we're closed next Monday, aren't we?
Zoom next Tuesday.
Yeah. Resume next Tuesday.
Where's that meeting at?
Nobody else has anything, we'll adjourn at 1:45. Have a good day.
I'll make that motion.
We should've looked at Angie's question about lunch.
A little closer, no, learned my lesson. John?
Well, flip the switch on, please.
So you look at an agenda like that and you think, we won't